Welcome everyone. We are ready to rock and roll. We are ready for the Canadian Grand Prix. Evening, evening. Hope you're well. Hope you're well. Hello, hello. Are we live? We are live. We are live. I always have that pause of where I press live and I'm like, am I just talking to myself? I don't know. It's like I'm in purgatory. The land in between. Happy Father's Day to you parents out there, you dads out there. Happy Father's Day. And of course, always, I guess every day is Happy Mother's Day because, of course, they are the true heroes out there. But plenty of us dads are heroes as well. So, yes, Happy Father's Day to those who are celebrating. I've got my own T-shirt here that the missus got me. There's a silhouette of a photo of me and Mila. So that's I'm wearing very proudly today. So that's a nice memento to look back upon. So, but yes, evening everyone. Hope you're well. Hope you're ready for a very, very hopefully blockbuster Canadian Grand Prix. Interestingly enough, the drivers, from what I can see, haven't made their way round to their grid spots yet. Of course, we will always have a check of the sighting laps to ensure that no shenanigans have taken place. Of course, if you look back to Miami, it is bright blue skies. A little bit of a spoiler alert for the weather conditions. It is bright blue skies out at the Circuit de Villeneuve, Gilles Villeneuve, this Sunday afternoon in Canada, Montreal. So, yeah, not going to be any rain, I believe. But we'll still have a look at the weather report regardless because, yeah, the weather can change on a dime in Canada, just like it can in the UK. But, yes, hope you're well, guys. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. I was just at the in-laws, actually, around her dad's. Having a lovely curry. So I know that's why I delayed the stream by 15 minutes because I was round there. I didn't want to rush back and leave them all sooner than I had to. But yes, welcome everyone. At the moment, I have run the poll. Of course, the poll for the win today out of Russell, Verstappen, Piastri. And yes, I have included Norris because with respect to Hamilton, with respect to Kimi Antonelli, I don't think they've got the pace. And pains me to say regarding Lewis Hamilton, but that Ferrari just doesn't have the pace. And both Ferrari drivers seemed very down in their interviews yesterday. I saw Lewis Hamilton say, the Ferrari feels like a dancer that's got no rhythm. And you're trying to teach someone rhythm, which is very, very difficult to do. So, yeah, harsh words by Lewis Hamilton with his Ferrari. But he's in fifth, and if there's some shenanigans ahead of him, then we may see that. But we do have drivers making their way to the end of the pit lane to start their sighting lap. So let's have a look and see, hopefully, that no shenanigans take place. Is it a cappuccino? It is a cappuccino. Yes, caramel cappuccino. Could Leclerc challenge for the podium? I think he could. I think Leclerc is really someone who was hard done by yesterday, of course, in qualifying when it came to that. Not impeding by Isaac Hadjar. He just met Isaac Hadjar at the wrong place on the track. If Isaac Hadjar was further ahead down the middle straight there from turn 7 to turn 8, I think Charles would have been totally unaffected by his presence. But it just happened so that he caught him close enough to the corner of turn 6 and turn 7, and that just gave him enough dirty air to lose traction. As we know, these cars are so sensitive in the last iteration of these regs. But yes, Russell, Verstappen, Piastri or Norris. And, well, unsurprisingly, Norris is the least voted, starting in 7th. He admitted that he just overdrove the car yesterday. Mistakes on his end. Do I need to say any more about Norris and his qualifying performance this year? So flaky. As we do have pit exits for, the pit exit is open, green light for drivers to make their way round to their grid starting positions. So we'll keep an eye on that to make sure nothing happens. But yes, Verstappen, 41% of you think he's going to win this race today. George Russell, 22%. Piastri, 29%. But of course, everyone wants to tune in for that first lap, that first corner. How will Russell and Verstappen fare? It's going to be intriguing. It is going to be very intriguing. Olivia, excited for a clean race to finish your GCSEs this week. Oh, well, yes, hopefully all goes well for you. Good luck in them, and hopefully this will set you up for the week ahead for a good race here. Both Ferrari drivers were looking surprisingly optimistic during the driver parade. Yeah, but that's because they're not in there. That's because they haven't sat in their Ferrari yet for the day. Timothy, you're interested to see if McLaren Advantage disappears with a new technical directive around tyre brake temperature management. Where's that arisen from? I haven't seen a new technical directive around the tyre and brake temperature management. It's news to me. Where have you seen that? Were there penalties handed out last night after qualifying? Yes, there were, Carl. Yes, there were. So as you can see, Yuki Tsunoda dropped to the bottom. But interestingly, Liam Lawson is starting still behind Yuki Tsunoda. He had a 10-place grid penalty, but Yuki is starting 18th. So I think Lawson might also be starting from the pit lane today, as Pierre Gasly is starting from the pit lane. So that's why Yuki is starting in 18th. So he's moved up a couple of spots. Gasly has definitely broken part Ferme rules. I know he's starting from the pit lane. We saw that Isaac Hadjar got a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Carlos Sainz, a slam dunk penalty for him at the Q1 session yesterday, which meant Carlos Sainz couldn't make it out of Q1. He starts in P12 today, Isaac Hadjar, and that promotes Colapinto up into the top 10 for the first time since he's returned to Formula 1 this season in the Alpine. He needs a good performance today, of course, with his teammate down in 20th as well. No other updates in relation to grid penalties. Of course, the majority of drivers have moved up a position because of Yuki's 10-place grid penalty, and that is it. So, yes, it's pretty much as you can see there. Hey, Nero, good to see you. And that technical directive goes into the start of 2026. Oh, yeah. Well, if that's the case, then no, I don't see McLaren being affected this year at all. So they've clearly got an advantage when it comes to their tyre management at the moment and their brakes because of how they are able to distribute the temperature, whether it be away from the wheel or into the wheel. They can't do it on the fly and remotely because that is illegal. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to have active parts on the car. So, yeah, they will assess, of course, throughout the weekend how they want to distribute that temperature, and they've been able to manage it very well thus far. But this has been a weekend where they've been a little bit on the back foot. Piastri, a very good digging deep yesterday, as did Max Verstappen. Two drivers, as I mentioned in my short, that they were struggling in practice all weekend, and then eventually they, as the good drivers do, they dig out a performance. Now, what's interesting today is that Piastri and the McLarens and the Ferraris both have brand new mediums available to them. We'll have a look at the strategies and the tyre allocations available, but they didn't use their mediums in qualifying yesterday, whereas the Mercedes and the Red Bulls did. So how will that fare for the strategy today? And we'll have a look at those Pirelli options. It's good news. I'm not going to spoil it for you just yet. We'll wait until these drivers have made their way round to their grid slots. But it's good news in relation to strategy for today, guys. So yes, stay tuned. Stay tuned. Moving for Red Bull next season might not be the best, as right now Max should Max really move? No, I think he should stay, Dean. I think it'd be silly for Max to move right now because no one knows what 2026 holds. So hold position. You never know. They may come out. All the rumours may be wrong, and Ford actually do have the best engine with Red Bull, and they hit the ground running. Or it could be Mercedes, and Mercedes, who have been looking to acquire your services for quite some time. Yep, you take on that offer. But I think it'd be very. I think right now, with the unknown of 2026, I think you stay put. Both the McLaren drivers have a new set of mediums. Yeah, we'll have a look at the tyre allocations shortly. I think it's going to play a big factor in today's race. Very, very much so. Evening, Foster. Good to see you. Josh, has anyone got any penalties apart from Hadjar? Yuki Tsunoda got a 10-place grid penalty for what occurred in FP3 when Oscar Piastri hit the Wall of Champions. Oscar Piastri was making his way back round to the pit lane. And, well, Tsunoda overtook him under red flag conditions, which is a big no-no in the rules. Common sense states that he should have overtaken him because Oscar was going significantly slow, and you could argue that maybe he was going too slow, and Tsunoda could be a danger to others behind him if he's going that slowly and just following Oscar Piastri. But the rules are the rules, and he got a 10-place grid penalty, unfortunately. So Hagile penalty was for signs impeding. It was indeed, yes. What is a pink padded material? It means the material that is used in the headrest. So you remember that, you know, like the big U shape that you see them take out before they get into the before they get out of the car. That just, I don't know what the difference between pink and what blue is. We sometimes see blue. I imagine it's the stiffness of the material. At Canada, I presume, obviously there's not a lot of change of directions, so the actual G-forces from side to side aren't as severe as some other circuits, so a stiffer material isn't necessarily required. I imagine the pink-headed material is slightly softer. Why do they change the helmets? Is it a higher risk for crashes? Yes, it will be because of, obviously, the G-forces and so forth that they can... I don't think the pink-headed material is for the actual helmets. I could be wrong. I think we've had this discussion before. But yeah, it'll be because of track dependent and the forces that they can potentially incur. It's definitely going to be a fun race. Pharaoh, why are the C5 medium tyres outperforming the C6 soft tyres? How important would a tyre strategy be at the Canadian Grand Prix today? Well, the primary reason for that is because here at Canada, you have to be careful of your tyre temperatures, in particular to the rears. So at this circuit, the actual abrasiveness of Canada isn't very high. So the actual degradation of the surface of the tyre itself is very low. But the thermal degradation, the heat in the temperatures, how hot you get those rear tyres and that rubber is what you need to manage. And that's where then that can cause some sliding across the surface. And that's where you can then have, of course, degradation on your tyres, thermal degradation. And that's what the drivers are having to manage throughout the duration of a lap. Now, the C6 is the softest, and we have seen that the drivers have had to balance, of course, those rear tyres. They need to push to the right amount to ensure that they still get enough heat in the fronts, because otherwise they can lock up or understeer because they've got no grip, as well as ensuring that they don't obviously kill the rear tyres. So the C6s don't last very long, whereas the medium compound is a little bit more durable, but it's still soft enough for them to go quicker than the C6. And, well, yeah, you can see that there was an interesting conversation that the mics picked up of Oscar Piastri and George Russell just after they got out of their cars yesterday on the grid. And they were talking about the soft and the medium, and George was just saying, like, yeah, we just couldn't make the soft last long enough. I was 6 tenths quicker on the medium than I was on the soft. And Piastri went, yeah, I mean, I even lost some grip through turns 3 and 4 and stuff on the last lap. So they have to make a conscious decision in qualifying. What's great about this C6 tyre is that it actually makes qualifying even more exciting than it currently is, because we don't know what tyre is best. But then that also has an impact on the race today, because the medium compound tyre is primarily a tyre that is going to be used in the race, which we'll have a look at the strategy options very shortly as the drivers are making their way around to their grid slots. So yes, credit to Pirelli. Didn't think they'd introduce something like this year, but it's provided a lot of intrigue across the duration of the weekend in practice, qualifying, and the race on Sunday. So, do I mean sighting laps? Yeah, but I mean sighting. Is it an American? Is it American spelling or English spelling? Maybe it is. Maybe I do mean sighting. Hang on. Let me change the spelling. Hang on. GH, there we go. These are just sighting laps. So that is it pretty much. Everyone has made their way round to their grid slots. Nothing to make note of. Yes, confirmation there that Liam Lawson will be starting from the pit lane as well after he failed to make it out of Q1. So that's why Yuki has been promoted to P18, because Gasly is also starting from the pit lane, even though Tsunoda had a 10-place grid penalty. Do I think giving up a set of mediums to track position is a good choice? Well, we're about to find out, Rab. I can't tell you. I generally cannot tell you because I don't know how this race is going to pan out. We'll have a look at those strategy options, though, and see. Let's have a look and see what Pirelli think, shall we? Just need to bring these up for you. Thank you for the subs flying in, by the way, guys. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Oh, the cat wants to say hello. Come on, then. Say hello to everyone. Right, where is it? Where have I moved those There we go. Right. Here we are. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. This is the one we want to look at first. We potentially have a two-stopper on the cards. Yes, hopefully that bottom strategy there is something that we do not see at all. Hopefully we don't see that bottom strategy. But I believe and I have faith that we are going to see a two-stop strategy here today. Woo! Let's go. Let's go, everyone. Let's go. Yes, so as you can see there, the medium compound tyre is a tyre that I do believe the majority of teams are going to be starting on. I'm very surprised, actually, that Pirelli have even suggested that the soft compound tyre is a tyre to be used in the race. I just don't see that really being viable here today, but who knows? Who knows? I could be completely wrong, but hopefully Pirelli is completely wrong. But welcome everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone as always. Over 1,000 of you here before the race even gets underway. The cat's name is Luna. I didn't catch Le Mans, nope, because I refused to pay the extra amount of money that was required this year to watch it. So yeah, I didn't really keep up to date with it. I saw that Ferrari had a 1, 2, 3, obviously not factory works teams and so forth, but yeah, maybe next year. Maybe next year. But interesting. So I think primarily, if you've got two medium compound tyres to use, I think this second strategy here is going to be the one of choice. Now, it all depends on how the hard compound tyre performs. No one has really done much running on it in practice because it is a race tyre. But I think this one is primarily what we'll see McLaren and Ferrari use because they've got mediums available. We may see the likes of Mercedes and the likes of Red Bull utilise this strategy at the top with the hard compound tyre. But hopefully we see these two strategies utilised and not this one at the bottom with the one stop. I really hope the hard compound tyre doesn't last that long and we are forced into a two-stop strategy today, not a one-stop. Or maybe it'll be a bit like Imola where it's actually no one knows if it's a two-stop or a one-stop. What's the most viable strategy? That will make things interesting for us as well. How much extra was it to watch? It was... Le Mans was about an extra 30... Well, whatever TNT extra cost per month. So I think that's like, what, 30 quid? Something like that per month. On top of what I'm already paying, which is very expensive anyway. So, Le Mans team stream live from their cars on YouTube. Yeah, but I mean, you want to see the whole picture, don't you? When it comes to an endurance race, you don't just want to follow one team. But anywho, that is the strategy options for today. So fingers crossed that even if it is a one-stopper, it's like Imola where we have half the field trying the one-stop, half the field trying the two-stop. But I think with the step softer we've got here this weekend, I think one of these two strategies at the top is going to be utilised. And then tyre allocations. This is where it is key, as you can see here. So, okay. I actually thought Hamilton, Leclerc, Norris and Piastri had 2 new sets of mediums available to them. They don't. They only have 1 brand new set of mediums. So, if we look back just briefly at the strategy options, then that means that really they're either going to be going for the one-stop or the two-stop at the top here with the hard compound tyres. So I got that incorrectly. I thought potentially that they had 2 mediums available to them. But no, they've got the hard compound. They've got 2 sets of hards. Where Red Bull may be left a little bit floundering today is that Max Verstappen has 2 sets of mediums, but he only has used sets as he used them yesterday in qualifying. Same as George Russell. He has used a set of hard compound tyres very briefly in practice, as did Kimi Antonelli. Well, they've also used their 2 mediums that they have available to them. So the strategy options and what is viable here today is going to be really interesting. I do suspect that we'll see a safety car at some point. I don't know. I just don't see everyone making it through this race unscathed. But we'll see. WC website also offers live timing for free, but yeah, it's pricey to watch live. Exactly. Yeah, so everything's behind a paywall now these days, unfortunately, isn't it? As a team red line mechanic, I suggest to start on a wet tyre. To reduce, then pit and reduce, start from the pit lane and reduce the ride height, yeah? Are the intermediate, medium, or hards? They're no longer called the intermediates and like the options and stuff like that anymore. That's a bygone era, shall we say? I say a bygone era. That's only like the mid 2000s, wasn't it? It was called like the option tyre and stuff. But yes, very intriguing there. Strategy is going to play a key factor here today, even after, no doubt, what is going to be a very hectic first lap. So, race pace, and this has been taken from what we've seen, the data-wise. This is accumulated from data in practice. Now, I did say yesterday, while this is showcasing that McLaren is the fastest and Red Bull second, Mercedes third, etc., I don't think there's too much that could be read into this because, particularly with the top teams, they didn't do too much running on the mediums or the hard compound tyre. It was all their race pace was conducted and their long runs were conducted on the soft compound tyre, which we know isn't a tyre that is going to last very long in the race. So it's not really as what's the right word? As reliable as what it normally is, because they want to save those tyres, which they normally would do their race simulations on for the race on Sunday today. So yeah, I think that's probably correct though. I think Mercedes is probably a bit closer in reality to Red Bull, and I think McLaren are definitely ones to keep an eye out on today. Lando Norris, of course, needs to make progression through the field, doesn't he, in P7. Oscar Piastri will be probably just trying to nick a position at the start if he can, with Max and George potentially fighting and just maybe biding his time as the race goes on to get some clean air. So Crolido, thanks for finding show entire location left. It's becoming such a determining factor. Exactly, that's what we always do here. That's what we always do in relation to having a look at the strategies. It's so important in F1, and yeah, especially with the softer compound tyres that are available. When with drivers using the mediums yesterday, how is that going to affect the race today? I think it's definitely going to play a factor. Alistair, I'm a great streamer. This is awesome. I'm so glad it popped up on your feed, even with F1 on your TV. Thank you, Alistair. Much appreciated. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. That's what we do here. Thankfully, as I keep saying it, every kind of race stream, we are growing this stream. It is getting bigger and better, so big thank you, guys. And yeah, once people seem to find this stream, you seem to stick around. I can see all the data. Returning viewers is very high. And end of the day, consistency is key on YouTube. If you want to do this full time, you need the returning viewers and the support. So big thank you, guys. We're clearly doing something right here. And we have a great community. The mods do a brilliant job. So big thank you to the mods every week as the numbers are getting bigger and better. We do have, I think, this on subscriber mode. Is it on subscriber mode? Let me just see if it is. It is on subscriber mode. The reason we do that, guys, if you're watching and you're not subscribed yet, is just to keep the chat a friendly place. So, yeah. You keep coming back for the cake and ice cream. Where? I ain't got none. George is fully ready to take Max to the wall if need be. I don't think he's fully ready to take him to the wall. He'll want to keep his car as clean as possible. But I think he's fully ready to utilise the racing rules to his advantage. And I think with him starting, I think the pole position starts on the inside line. I think it does. He will have, obviously, the head start on Max, and Max knows that he could potentially run out of room very quickly and become vulnerable to Piastri down into the second corner. It's not just about the first corner, it's about the second corner as well, where Piastri will be looking to obviously try and take quick advantage of Max being out of position and yeah, getting up into P2. I was the first F1 creator you came across and still haven't felt the need to search for others since. Thank you. Well, obviously, there's some other great creators out there who do different forms of content, of course. And yeah, I watch their stuff as well. But we do what we do here is unique, I like to think. It is a short run up to turn one, Raymond. It is indeed. So that's what's going to make Max's job even harder to ensure that he is sufficiently ahead of George into turn one. Now, remember, guys, the racing rules are different than what they have been in the past. Now, of course, we've got the head at the apex rule, but there are specific areas on the car that you need to be ahead of the car alongside you, whether you're on the inside or the outside, to be deemed ahead at the apex. And for the overtaking car on the outside, you have to have your front axle ahead of the front axle of the car on the inside. So you need a significant drive around the outside at the peak of the apex, which is subjective to marshals and stewards and so forth. How you see the apex or the peak of the apex is different to how maybe I see it or how the stewards see it. So Max needs a poor start really from George, and he needs to really release off the brakes, similar to kind of, I guess, what he did in Imola, to ensure that he can hold on to that position or take to the escape road and hold P1, you know. But with George, he's going to be more aggressive than what Oscar Piastri was, I think, especially with him going for a race win and not being looking at the bigger picture, you know, of a championship battle, unlike Piastri was in Imola. So yeah, intriguing times ahead. Only 19 minutes, guys, until of course the formation lap gets underway. The inters do exist. I mean the inters is in the intermediate tyres for wet tyres, which we aren't going to see today because there is a 0% chance of rain at Montreal. That may be a Debbie Downer for some people. Sorry, Debbies, and if there's any Debbies watching. But yes, no wet weather here at Montreal. So thankfully we do have that step softer tyre, because otherwise it could be a pretty boring one-stop. There is still the potential of a one-stop here, but I think it's going to be more so on the cusp of whether it's a one-stop or a two-stop. Green flag conditions, pit stop lost time is quite short. One of the shortest, I think, on the calendar, with only 18.5 seconds. And well, look at that. Safety car. If you can pit under VSC or safety car conditions, which we have had a very high percentage of in the last 7 years, 83% safety car there for the last 7 years, and 50% for the VSC, you can gain a 9-second advantage under those conditions. So that is what maybe a few drivers are going to be goal hanging for today. Red flag, we've had 0 red flags, but we do know, of course, for F1 is very safety conscious now these days. We've seen a red flag already. We've seen a couple of red flags already, haven't we, this weekend with Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri yesterday in practice. So yes, that is it for today, ladies and gentlemen. These are your strategy options. Hopefully we get to see a two-stopper, or it's on the cusp of being a one-stopper or a two-stopper. Those are where we get very interesting races. So yeah, not long to find out. Would medium, soft possible for teams and good tyre management? Probably not, no. I don't think so. No, the soft, I don't think anyone really has any brand new softs available unless they are starting way down the field in Q1. Who got knocked out in Q1, so you're looking at Bortoletto, Hulkenberg, Sainz, Lawson. The top teams aren't going to use tyres to get themselves to an end on an optimum strategy. At least it would have to be a late safety car, something of the like, to put those soft tyres on, rather than a set of mediums or hards. So I'm being more consistent than Max Verstappen was when it comes to viewer attention. Thank you. In quali, should an impeding car be allowed to progress or forfeit to the car impeded? Hadjar P8 after impeding Sainz P17 seems unexpected. Yeah, I think if there is... you don't want to overcomplicate it, but I think if there is a clear evidence of impeding, which Isaac Hadjar's was, I think it should be an immediate penalty. So yes, so it should be, look, you've been caught impeding. Because of that, there's a clear, like, it's not really kind of neither here or there. We don't know whether or not you was impeding or not. But I think in cases of like Isaac Hadjar's yesterday, where it was clear impeding, I think them not being able to make it through to the next session is probably a suitable penalty. However, we know that Stewart's rulings don't work as quickly as that. So, because, I'm not saying obviously Hadjar did it on purpose, but at the same time, Sainz has missed out on Q2. He's missed out on an opportunity to qualify for P2. But, yeah, I don't know. Or do we just leave it as it is? But there's always a sense of unfairness. Sometimes you fall on the right side of the coin. Sometimes you fall on the wrong side of the coin. That's sport sometimes. So, I don't know. I feel like more could be done, though. Maybe making a quicker decision in relation to that. But Alistair, Colapinto will be a surprise riser based on qualies, and I want good things for Antonelli. He deserves some luck. Yeah, Antonelli, I mean, obviously, yeah, the last the last triple header was not very good for him when it came to reliability. And then obviously in between that was Monaco, which can always be a very different, or it is a very different track. It's an outlier in relation to performance. Some drivers do either do very well there or they do very poorly. But Antonelli, I think, has potential to do well here. I don't expect him to hold his position in P4 or fight for a podium. And Colapinto, he needs just to build some confidence. That first triple header, first 3 races back into F1, didn't start off very well for him in Imola, of course, all his own doing. And then it's very difficult to try and get momentum off of the back of that, I guess, with 2 very quick races after succession, with one of them being Monaco as well. So, what new team is coming next year, Audi or Caddy? Both. But Audi is taking over Stake F1. Then they're not taking over. They're not coming in as a brand new team. They're taking over Stake F1. Sauber, Caddy is a brand new team. It is that 11th team. But right, let's just get set up then, shall we, for the race ahead. Renz, do I think the F1 president MBS should be replaced next elections? 1,000 billion%. Yes. I don't mince my words when it comes to Mohammed Ben Sulayem. And I think he's a dictator. And I think he is bringing the sport into disrepute. And I think he should just disappear. And I think if he maintains the president's seat, which it's most likely he is going to, because he seems to have a stranglehold over a number of the governing sporting bodies which vote for his seat. And he has implemented a number of dictatorial rules, which has given him more and more power. I can see Liberty Media and F1 breaking away from the FIA and creating their own governing body. There you go. That's what I have to say on MBS. So, yeah. I'm not a fan. And the thing is, the FIA should not be at the forefront of any kind of... They should be in the background. If they're doing their job correctly, they should be the ones who are just... We don't discuss. You know, we shouldn't be just talking about the FIA. We shouldn't be talking about the stewards. Their job is just to govern the sport from a rules and regulation perspective and a safety perspective. And we shouldn't really hear anything from them. However, we hear way too much about them, and for all the wrong reasons. So, yeah. That's my view on them. Right, let's get set up, shall we? You guys keep distracting me. I'm only kidding. It's good distractions. Right, I think we have everything there. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Renz. Yeah. So, yeah, those are my opinions on the FIA, and I think it's like with any sport. And I've said it before as well, like, I don't know why we don't have, like, a proper professional stewards body. Every sport you can think of in the world, they have professionals. Not former professionals, they have actual professionals as referees. You have to go through tests, you have to go through badges, coaching, etc. to become a ruling official in the sport. And motorsport, where arguably it's one of the most lucrative sports in the world, doesn't have professional stewards. Doesn't have, like, it's not like you have to go for a rigorous coaching program, a test, and take tests and get badges and so forth. It's, yeah, I don't really know actually what the selective process is, but it's definitely not as rigorous and as professional as other sports in the world, which is madness, absolutely madness. Yeah, right, MBS wants to be centre of attention too much. He does, and I guarantee you, and I haven't seen him yet, but I guarantee you I will see him. I need to stop talking about MBS, but I guarantee you I will see him wanting to shake the winner's hand as he gets out of the car. By obviously whether they stop at their marks, you know, after the race ends. Every single time. It's like, just get away. No one wants to see your face, least of all the drivers. Will I be commentating during the race? I am in Egypt. Papa's it. Yeah, of course I will be. Yeah, I'll be commentating during the race, Samantha. Of course, this is what we do here. If you're new to the channel, guys, welcome. I have seen the subscriber count absolutely shoot up, by the way, so big thank you. Yes, if you're new to the channel, how do we do things here? Well, we broadcast the data that is available for us. Of course, copyright reasons means that we cannot show any TV imagery because we would be banned, and I don't want that for this channel or for you guys because I love doing these watch-alongs. But how we do things over the duration of a weekend is pre-practice sessions are a bit more chilled. We have a bit more back and forth, kind of what we're doing right now, to be honest with you, while keeping an eye on the data and, of course, the goings-on throughout the weekend. Qualifying, we get into commentary mode, as you guys who joined yesterday would have seen, and also for the race we do exactly the same. So if I am unable to reply to any of your messages during the race itself, do not take it personally. I'm just focusing on, of course, trying to provide you that commentary service. Keep a hold of those questions. If there are braking proceedings with safety cars, red flags, etc., we'll be able to have that back and forth. But we do stick around, unlike other streams out there, we do stick around after the race ends and chat about what occurred in the race, because I love that. That's arguably my favourite part of the weekend. It's just taking stock of everything that's happened and having those important questions with you all. And, well, that important back and forth. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but that's the beauty of these streams. Thank you, Ollie. Good to see you, mate. Peter Windsor would make a great steward. Potentially, maybe. I mean, the thing is, you can be a very good steward, but I do also have to cut the steward some slack because they have to make decisions within a very short period of time. So you need to go through, that's what I mean. That's why there should be tests, there should be badges, there should be a whole coaching process, a professional coaching process to become an official steward, so that you're able to make conscious and consistent decisions in the correct way within certain parameters and time parameters, rather than just going, have you done it before? Oh, you used to be on track. You used to be a driver. Yeah, come on, give stewarding a go, you know? Because it doesn't mean necessarily they're going to be able to make those decisions correctly and concisely in those in that short time period under that pressure. Frattison, thank you for rejoining as a member, by the way. Much appreciated. 6 months now. 6 months. Wow, how time flies. I remember when you became a member for the first time. 6 months. Wow. Not only F1 is touring car and so. What, in relation to the professional stewarding, I don't know about touring cars and other motorsport series. I know some other motorsport series probably take it more proper. But F1 definitely doesn't have professional stewards. So, right, what am I saying about T1? I think we're hyping it up too much, to be honest with you. I think George is just going to get a brilliant start, and Max isn't going to have a look in, and then Max is just going to slot in behind. And I think we're going to be like, oh, we talked about turn one all night. We've hyped it up, and George just absolutely nails the start. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, Max has had good starts. George has had good starts. It requires George Russell. I think Max will play it smart. I think unless Max can see because of how short the run is to turn one, as you can see here, it's not like Spain. It's not like other circuits. Unless Max consciously sees that he gets his wheels alongside George very quickly, I don't think he's even going to warrant trying to hold on to space around the outside. Maybe he will. Of course, the driver's instinct takes over you, especially when you're going for P1. But I don't know. I can very much see Max taking to the escape road pretty quickly, I think, here. So we'll see. Just drove 300 miles just in time to sit down. Well done, by the way, Wonk. I remember you saying yesterday you were driving, up to Scotland or down from Scotland? I can't remember where you was driving from. Well done. McLaren have been struggling here. Yes. Now, this is the key thing here today, guys, is that McLaren, we know, is overall the quickest car. They haven't been at that peak performance that we've seen from the McLaren in previous races. But we know the McLaren really is only the quickest car in clean air. It's not. It has had its struggles overtaking when it's been further down in the pack. Most notably from Lando Norris, because he's the one who's mucked up qualifying more so than Piastri. but it's going to be a very intriguing race here for both McLarens, because if Piastri can't nick a position at the start from Verstappen or George Russell or whatever, I mean, I do have faith that Piastri will just be able to bide his time and wait for that clean air. The McLaren like to do an overcut, don't they? So they'll probably try and utilise that, or maybe they'll do an undercut. Clean air is going to be king for them today, so keep an eye out on Piastri. Remember that 18.5-second gap is what they'll be looking for to pit him in particular into some clean air, whether it be to do the overcut or the undercut. I do suspect McLaren will be better on their tyres than Russell and Verstappen. By the way, I've just seen the track temperature. It's 50 degrees. Oh my goodness. That could very, very much so. It's just dropped down to 49.5. That right there could very, very much so play into McLaren's hands now I think about it. I didn't see the track temperature there. 50 degrees it just was a second ago. That is going to massively be a challenge today. As we've mentioned, thermal degradation is the key issue here at Montreal. Looking after those rear compound tyres. So the hotter the track temperature, the higher your starting temperature is going to be on those tyres, and quicker they are going to get hotter. So, yeah, the Mercedes, we know, likes to call the track conditions. We know Verstappen has also had issues in his Red Bull with tyre management as well, mostly when it does come to thermal degradation. It could be just a waiting game here for McLaren. That's what I think. And now I think about it, I think Lando could also just be patiently waiting as well for just biding their time, especially if it does fall into a two-stop. But not long to go, guys. Not long to go. 3 minutes remaining. 3 minutes remaining until this formation lap gets underway. Good to see you, Matt, watching the race on Austrian TV and listening to my commentary. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Welcome, everyone. If you're just tuning in, Hamilton has got a decent set of tyres as well, Scott. Yeah, I think with these track temperatures, I think a two-stopper is more viable. Thankfully for us, as here we go, we have tyre blankets off. George Russell, everyone down to Lando and Charles. Interesting. Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, who are arguably out of position, McLaren and Ferrari have decided to split their strategy. Good decision, I personally think, from both of those two. Bold of them. And you can see there, Hamilton and Piastri, the only drivers in the top six who have brand new sets of mediums to start on. George Russell and Max Verstappen, as they used them in qualifying yesterday, 3 laps they have conducted on them. Antonelli has 6-lap-old medium tyres. How will he fare off the line today down into that short run to turn 1? Will he be a bit of a sitting duck? How long will those medium compound tyres last? Same as Fernando Alonso. As we move further down the grid there, we can see Albon, Colapinto are on used mediums, with Hulkenberg, Hadjar and Behrman on mediums as well. Everyone, as I think is the right decision, those pretty much who failed to make it out of Q1 or at the end of Q2 there, Ocon, Bortoletto, Sainz, Stroll, Tsunoda and Lawson and Gasly starting from the pit lane. They're all on the hard compound tyre. Try and go long, hope for that safety car, which is a very high percentage here, as we saw over 80% we have seen in the last 7 years, a safety car here. So yes, definitely a viable option for those today to maybe sneak their way up the grid. But yes, not long to go, guys, until 70 laps of the Montreal the Canadian Grand Prix at Montreal Circuit Villeneuve gets underway. When is Tsunoda going to be replaced? Not until next season. He's in that seat to the end of the year, I believe. McLaren clearly shifting priority to Oscar, giving him the new tyres during quali and now. Well, to be fair, Lando has the same exact set of tyres available to him. However, he's out of position. So Lando is on this strategy because of his own doing. Otherwise, I don't think they'd decide to split strategy. But anywho, quick lube break for myself. I'd suggest you guys do the same, as we have 45 seconds for the formation lap to get underway. Here we go. Here we go. Woo. Here we go. Right, is everything A-OK when it comes to the transponders? Hopefully it is. Yet to see the drivers make their way round. Yes, there we go. There we go. Drivers on their way. Woof, woof. I thought maybe something was up there, but thankfully no. We are good to go. Good to go. Good to go. Right. That was a 5-second pit stop. Yeah, don't worry, I did wash my hands, ladies and gentlemen. Right, the race is very, very shortly about to get underway as the drivers are making their way round to do their formation lap. Let's have a rundown of your starting grid today for the Canadian Grand Prix. Yes, George Russell got pole position yesterday from Max Verstappen in P2. It's the same front row as it was a year ago in the Canadian Grand Prix, with George Russell on the front row with Max Verstappen in P2. But of course, Max Verstappen not leading the World Championship this time around, as he is currently in 3rd place, but still looking to close down the gap to the two McLarens who are further up ahead of him. Oscar Piastri starting in P3. Of course, he struggled here this weekend, but he's starting on a brand new set of mediums. Let's see how that plays out at the start of this race and as the race progresses with the strategies that we are hoping to see today. Kimi Antonelli, a great qualifying from him, but he's starting in P4. On the second row with 6-lap-old mediums. Will he have enough grip off the starting line? With Lewis Hamilton starting just behind him in P5 on a brand new set of mediums. Fernando Alonso, great qualifying from him, looking to continue the great form that he had in Spain, scoring his first points of the season there. Can he do the same again in Canada? Lando Norris out of position, as we know, starting on the hard compound tyre. He'll be hoping to go long and hope there isn't an early safety car to put a spanner in the works for his hopes today to close down the gap to his championship rival and teammate Oscar Piastri in P3. Charles Leclerc, we know he could have potentially been on pole position yesterday if it wasn't for catching Isaac Hadjar at the wrong place. He's in P8 on the hard compound tyre as well. Split strategy for both McLarens and the Ferrari team. Albon again in Q3 and P9. Colapinto in P10 for the first time this season and his return to F1. Hulkenberg in 11th. Hadjar got a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Carlos Sainz in Q1 yesterday, which is why he starts in P12. Behrman is in 13th. Ocon in 14th. Split strategy for the two Haases as well here today. Behrman on the mediums, Ocon on the hards. Bortoletto is 15th, Sainz is 16th, Stroll is 17th, Yuki Tsunoda starting 18th as he had a 10-place grid penalty. He's actually starting in 18th, 2 places higher than he would have done because Lawson and Gasly are starting from the pit lane. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are ready. Is it going to be a very, very interesting turn one? We have moments away to find out. George Russell and Max Verstappen, they have history. And, well, it seems that green light, and we have green light, and the race is actually underway. I'm not entirely sure what has happened with the track map. I will reload that for you, as you can see on the interval at the moment. Not entirely sure what has occurred here with the data. It seems to be out of sync, but you can see on the interval time, but unfortunately, it seems that George Russell has held on to the position from Max Verstappen, as Kimi Antonelli has got past Piastri at the start of this race. I do apologise with the track map data. It seems to be behind in relation to the timings at the moment. There's nothing that I can control at this moment in time, but George Russell has done exactly the right thing by starting ahead of Max Verstappen, and we talked up turn one, and Alex Albon is dropping through the field here at a rate of knots. What has happened to Alex Albon? Or is that just the data absolutely skew-if right now? I do apologise. This has been a terrible start for the F1 data. There's nothing that I can solve right here as George Russell is ahead of Max Verstappen as they head down into turn 10. We will know whether or not this is actually an accurate representation of positions when they cross the start-finish line, but it is at the moment George Russell who leads from Max Verstappen. Kimi Antonelli is P3 with Piastri in P4. Lewis Hamilton is P5 with Alonso P6. DRS is supposedly now enabled. I have absolutely no idea what is going on with the live data right now. It is all over the place. I do apologise, but I'll try my best to get this up to date for you. I don't think it's just myself. I think everyone else is also no doubt probably having these issues, as has been the case throughout this year, because the sector times are all over the place. We can see that that's just watching the race restart to see exactly what occurred. And, well, I mean, I'm a bit thrown off here, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise, but George Russell leads from Max Verstappen at the moment with Kimi Antonelli in P3. Oscar Piastri is P4 with Hamilton in P5. Fernando Alonso is P6 with Norris 7th and Leclerc 8th. So no movement for those in pretty much in the top 8. Hulkenberg has had a brilliant start once again, as he did in Spain, as they are moving all over the place with their transponders at this moment in time. As I'm watching the live data on the actual TV coverage, and that's also a little bit off at the moment as well. Alex Albon has been the biggest loser by losing 3 places at the start of this race, but you can see there notably that Verstappen is in the DRS of George Russell, but George Russell has Verstappen covered at this moment in time. But Oscar Piastri has had the worst start possible, really, as he has lost a few positions. Lost a position to Kimi Antonelli, who was on the older compound tyres on 8-lap-old mediums. So Oscar Piastri, unable to utilise the extra grip that he had available to him, started on a brand new set of mediums. Fernando Alonso is P6 still. Good for him. Tsunoda has moved up a place ahead of Lance Stroll, but Albon is the biggest loser there at the moment, down into P12. Hopefully that is the start of the race for you and you are okay at this moment in time. I'm just looking to see if there's any other update here in relation to the live data. Let me refresh this for you guys to see exactly if there is anything that I can do in relation to the live data. Hopefully we will there. I think that maybe has synced things up. Hopefully that synced things up there. We'll see as they make their way down into P10. Into turn 10 at the moment. George Russell leads from Max Verstappen. We'll see once they cross the start-finish line whether or not this has all been updated. Apologies for the upset here at the moment. Let's just wait to see if that sector 3 time and that lap time is correct. When they cross that checkered flag there on your track map, you'll be able to see. And there we go. It's synced up enough. I think that's synced up enough. There we go. The cars are pretty much synced up enough there. I think we have everything in order. There we go. So, George Russell, with on the 4th lap now, George Russell leads from Max Verstappen, 7 tenths ahead of the Red Bull driver. He was able to hold off Max down into turn 1 quite comfortably from what I have seen from the race restart. Kimi Antonelli is up a position from Oscar Piastri, and well, he's only 1.6 seconds behind Max Verstappen. But importantly, he is ahead of Oscar Piastri by 1.2 seconds and keeping him out of that DRS window. We have 3 DRSs here, 3 DRS zones, 1 down the start-finish straight, 1 down the section they are all heading through right now through turn 7 and turn 8. As you can see, the DRS notification open. And then 1 down the back straight from turn 12 to turn 13. And Max is trying his best to stay under the rear wing of the Mercedes of George Russell. And you can see there, he's just probably not close enough to get on top of George Russell down into turn 13. But if he can be very good on the brakes, we know Max is very good and late on the brakes, will he have an opportunity down into turn 1? He's very close, half a second back out of the turn 14, past the Wall of Champions. Will he have an opportunity here and a late move down into turn 1? Of course we know, and he's very upset about those points being, and those penalty points being notified to him every single time he is in an interview. But he does have to think about it. He can't make a unnecessary move. As I've just ended the poll, and 43% of you do think Verstappen will win this race, with Russell, who is currently leading, 20%, with Piastri 27%, as he is currently in P4 at this moment in time. But it's a bit difficult to overtake at this early stage in this race. Other than the moves that have happened on the first lap, the opening lap here, we have yet to see any other overtakes. But what's interesting there is that Alonso has just got into the DRS of the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton there, as George Russell is setting purple sectors. He set a purple sector in the first and in the second, and he's trying to pull out that DRS from Max Verstappen here. Antonelli is doing quite a decent job at the moment, and he's bridging the gap from Oscar Piastri, which is interesting. Has Oscar Piastri, is he struggling, or is he already going into tyre saving mode here and thinking about the overall race ahead of him? 66 laps remaining, of course, where we do think there'll be multiple stops in this race. Verstappen getting very close, under braking into the last chicane, but not close enough out of turn 14 to have an opportunity on a move into turn 1. But very, very difficult it is to manage the temperatures on these tyres here, of course, in the fronts as well. and you can keep the pressure on and try and potentially force your opponent into a mistake, is definitely something that can occur. If you look back, Sebastian Vettel, Lewis Hamilton chasing Sebastian Vettel in 2019 and forced him into a mistake, whether you think that was a correct decision or not. Hamilton arguably kept the pressure on and forced his opponent into that position. Verstappen hoping to do so right now as well, as he is starting to lose a little bit of grip in the middle sector in particular. With George Russell in that clean air, he seems to have just a bit of better grip where it matters, and you can see there Verstappen has just lost the DRS into turn 10. Will he be able to gain it back under braking, or have they already crossed the DRS in activation line? And I think Verstappen, yes, 1.2 seconds back now. George Russell has sustained the pressure for now from Max Verstappen and has got him outside of his DRS. George, hopefully now he'll be thinking of looking ahead and trying to pull out that gap on Max, and yes, make sure that he can control this race as it goes on. Track limits noted for Alex Albon on turn 9, lap 1. Also for Kimi Antonelli on turn 14, lap 3. So that'll be why Alex Albon lost 3 positions at the start of this race due to avoiding action across the grass at turn 9 there, turn 8 to turn 9, where we've seen plenty of accidents in the past. George can't pull away in clean air. He potentially can, as he is now. You can see George Russell, where he was very strong yesterday in qualifying that Mercedes, was the middle sector. The Red Bull was very strong in the first sector. It was only until they got into the corners now where George Russell actually got ahead of Max Verstappen. If you check the Ghost Lap, a very, very good piece of content by F1 that you can view on their YouTube that shows where the difference was in their lap times yesterday. And the Mercedes, as we're starting to see right now with Max Verstappen, also in dirty air, is starting to pull out those all-important couple attempts in that middle sector, and that is not allowing Max Verstappen an opportunity to come back at the Mercedes of George Russell without DRS, of course. He'll be still getting the slipstream from this far back, as we'll see the interval time decrease there, 1.4 to 1.3 seconds, but it's not that advantage and that overspeed that Max Verstappen needs. Oscar Piastri in P4 at the moment. He is down 1 position from Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli doing a very, very good job, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I really thought that he might fall away at the start of this race, considering he's on more used tyres and older tyres than that of his opponents around him, but he's doing very well to hold off Piastri, and I think Piastri has gone into time-saving mode very, very early on, as I'm watching the replay of the race start, and Kimi Antonelli made a brilliant move on Oscar Piastri, by the way. I just watching the race replay, and he went straight up the inside of Oscar Piastri into turn 3. So bold move by the 18-year-old Italian. And yes, Kimi Antonelli showcasing that if he is potentially in the future given a car underneath him, he's going to be a very exciting driver to watch. I mean, he's already an exciting driver to watch, isn't he? As Nico Hulkenberg just watching Alex Albon taking to the grass, making that Williams a very expensive lawnmower. Nico Hulkenberg literally watched Colapinto and Albon go side by side through turn 9. Albon rejoined. Colapinto had to slow down. I'm not sure if Albon has been investigated yet for an unsafe rejoin. We'll see if that will be the case. But Colapinto had to slam on his brakes, and Hulkenberg said, "Thank you very much. I'll take those 2 positions," as he is currently up in P9. But as we cross the start-finish line for the 9th time here, as we are on lap 9 with 62 laps remaining, George Russell leads by 1.4 seconds, just under 1.5 seconds from Max Verstappen. He has sustained early pressure and attack from the Red Bull driver. No side-by-side action that we were so hoping would be the case down into turn 1, but with that short run into turn 1, George covered Max off comfortably. Antonelli is in P3. He is nearly 2 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri right now, and the top 4 starting to build a little bit of a gap, or really should I say the top 6 starting to build a little bit of a gap from the rest of the field. We can see Lewis Hamilton is in P5. He's a further 2 seconds back from Oscar Piastri, who is potentially already going into tyre saving mode in this early stint. Fernando Alonso staying within the tow of Lewis Hamilton in the DRS. Of course, the 2 former teammates and rivals. We've seen them go toe-to-toe here at Montreal before. Can we see a repeat of the past? Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, who are on the hard compound tyre. It seems to be Lando Norris is doing much better than that of Charles Leclerc on the hard compound tyre. Although their lap last time around, there wasn't too much to differentiate them. But Lando Norris is considerably a little bit ahead of Charles Leclerc, unless Charles Leclerc is just consciously thinking of the long game and just not wanting to get any sort of dirty air from Lando Norris. We have seen, of course, reports in the past. 4 seconds is how far back these drivers feel the dirty air now, which is absolutely obscene for Formula One, for any motorsport series. So that is why overtaking is so difficult now when it comes to races, and they are under the same conditions. But as we are interrupting here as we're running through the grid, Max Verstappen has just lost a bit of time to George Russell and, importantly, Kimi Antonelli. Last time around, he has lost 3 tenths, Verstappen, to Kimi Antonelli. Kimi Antonelli was comfortably the fastest driver in the top 10 last lap. Actually, he was the fastest driver last lap around, and he's nearly within the DRS of Max Verstappen. So it is Max Verstappen starting to struggle a bit more with his tyres up front there, and Kimi Antonelli, who's on the harder tyre, who's on the older tyres, actually faring much better. Or is it vice versa? And is it Antonelli putting too much pressure and energy into his tyres at this early stage? We will see. But Kimi Antonelli nearly in the DRS of Max Verstappen. As you can see there, the interval time under braking. Can he get into the DRS of Max Verstappen as they head down into out of turn 14? No, not yet. But you do suspect maybe next time around he will be able to. Kimi Antonelli is 16.562 last time around for him compared to Verstappen's 16.68. So the two Mercedes both in the 16.5s, and Verstappen was a tenth, nearly 2 tenths slower there. Sorry, just over a tenth slower, not 2 tenths, just over a tenth slower than that of Kimi Antonelli. Let's have a quick rundown of our of the field right now. As it seems that Fernando Alonso has made a mistake somewhere, as he's now fully under attack by Lando, who is on the hard compound tyre in P7. Lando thinking of the attack and trying to gain a cheeky position here on Alonso. Of course, split strategy here for Fernando Alonso compared to for Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc in 7th and 8th to those who are up ahead of them in the top 6 who started on the mediums. Will Lando be able to get past the Aston Martin down into turn 8? He's definitely thinking about it, and he just holds station right now as Charles Leclerc has reported these tyres are not great, and last time around he did a 17.0. So Charles Leclerc thought potentially that as Alonso and Norris, I think they went side by side there. Norris is all under the rear wing of Fernando Alonso, and Fernando Alonso might just be expecting to try and tow back past Lando Norris here, the wily old fox, the oldest driver on the grid. Is he going to potentially utilise the slipstream of the McLaren down into turn 13 and get back past Lando? No, Lando gets past Alonso down into turn 13. He made that lunge. Watching the replay right now of him, or was it just a mistake by Fernando Alonso down into turn 13? And actually, it was Fernando Alonso kind of half-heartedly letting Lando through, to be honest with you. He didn't have the grip through the turn 10 hairpin, and he comfortably let him through. But Verstappen fully under attack now by Kimi Antonelli. I'm still trying to get through the rest of the field, but it is pretty much as it is from the start. Outside the top 10, it is pretty much as it is from the opening lap, because we have Kimi Antonelli fully on the attack of Max Verstappen as it currently stands. 16.3 last time around compared to Verstappen's 16.9. Max Verstappen struggling with these tyres early on in the race, as Antonelli, very surprisingly to myself, on 3-lap older tyres on the mediums, is about to overtake Max Verstappen, 4-time world champion, down potentially into turn 13. He has the DRS open. It could be side by side from the 18-year-old Italian Kimi Antonelli down into turn 13. How hard will Max Verstappen fight it? And Kimi Antonelli, as Verstappen pits very, very early on here. Wow. Very, very early pit stop from Max Verstappen. He is bowed out very early in this race. The first driver out of anyone to pit. So the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, they were bold last time out in Spain, committing to the 3-stop strategy. And clearly they are going bold today. We know the Red Bull strategists. Yes, there were decisions and question marks over the hard compound tyre being put onto his car last time out, which of course led to the eventual coming together of Max Verstappen and George Russell. But they are very aggressive. They were very, very much on the point when it came to their strategy options. As Albon has been reported, we are monitoring an issue similar to Barcelona with the PU, but not as bad. So Alex Albon potentially has another mechanical issue with the power unit, another Mercedes power unit that could be seeing issues here for the 4th weekend in a row. Hopefully that won't be the case for the 2 Mercedes drivers, who are currently 1-2. George Russell leads from Kimi Antonelli, 3.8 seconds back, as Esteban Esteban Ocon has just got past Isaac Hadjar down into P12 there, into turn 8 there. So Esteban Ocon making moves onto the hard compound tyre. And Russell pits. Wow, we are seeing very, very early pit stops here from the medium compound runners, and those who are on the hard compound potentially starting to see movement here and starting to see that crossover of the hard compound tyre come to life compared to the mediums, as Alonso has also just lost another position to Charles Leclerc, who is on the hards. So, George Russell, is that a response, of course, to Max Verstappen to ensure that they are not undercut here? That leads Kimi Antonelli leads the Canadian Grand Prix at this moment in time, guys. He is leading as Isaac Hadjar also pits as well off the medium compound tyres. 14 laps into this race. What this does for us, hopefully, this bodes very well that this is at least a 2-stop strategy here today. If you were enjoying this stream, of course, we had issues with the live data earlier on syncing up. Thankfully, we have no further issues. Nearly 10,000 of you in the stream right now. Hit that like button. Let's get this stream to over 1,000 likes. And, of course, get this channel to 50,000 subscribers. Big thank you, as always. But at the moment, as we are seeing pit stops from those who were on the medium compound tyre, Max Verstappen has come out behind Nico Hülkenberg, who is on the mediums. George Russell does hold on to that position and puts a car between himself and Max Verstappen. Importantly there, a 2.5 second pit stop for Mercedes. A brilliant pit stop from them, something we haven't seen for quite some time, as Antonelli also dives into the pit lane as well. That gives Piastri the lead of this race, with Lewis Hamilton in P3, who is currently being closed down upon by Lando Norris, who is on the hard compound tyre. 16.457 last time around, Lando Norris, compared to Hamilton's 17.4. He's a half a second quicker than that of Oscar Piastri as well. So those who are on the hard compound tyre right now are absolutely loving life, you do presume, as Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc in particular, who was complaining about the hard compound tyre, are the drivers now who are only lapping in the 16-second range, whereas everyone else is pushing into the 17s and even further. As Colapinto also pits as well. It is Piastri leading from Lewis Hamilton. As Norris says, Russell has pitted. This is plan A. We need one of those amazing races from you here. So they believe a good race pace from Lando Norris here today. He could have a decent result as Russell gets past Fernando Alonso down into P8. Of course, two friends off track. Lando Norris, though, is thinking about overtaking Lewis Hamilton at this moment in time, and he's all under the rear wing of Lewis Hamilton. He's less than 3 tenths behind Lewis Hamilton at this moment in time. You can see the medium compound tyre. The traction out of turn 10 was absolutely supreme compared to the Ferrari, and Lando Norris with DRS is currently up into P2 and only 3.5 seconds back from his teammate. He is 6 tenths quicker than his teammate last time around. Will he be similar this time around? Okay, not as much because he had to overtake Lewis Hamilton, but still, that gap is 3.5 seconds. Leclerc has just done a PB of a 16.3, so we're starting to see that crossover period of the mediums falling off here, and Lewis Hamilton dives into the pit lane, as does Fernando Alonso, and those who started on the alternate strategy on the hard compound tyre may absolutely be loving life here as this race progresses. We have 55 laps remaining, and the hards have started. They're a bit slow to get going, but they are absolutely wonderful tyres to be on right at this moment in time, as George Russell has just proven. As I'm watching a replay of Lando Norris on Lewis Hamilton, and Lando is just able to use so much more grip than Lewis, and Lewis let, of course, Lando by quite comfortably because he was diving into the pit lane. But absolutely brilliant stuff from the hard compound runners at the moment, as George Russell fastest in the first sector there at 21.199, exactly the same as Max Verstappen, but you can still see there that Max Verstappen doesn't have the edge on George Russell. George Russell has that better time in the middle sector over the Red Bull, just like they did in qualifying yesterday. But how is this race going to play out? Lewis Hamilton rejoins into P10, and well, as Piastri is now into the pits, I really want to have a rundown of this grid right now, but with pit stops galore, Lando Norris is now your leader of the Canadian Grand Prix. He started P7, he's now up into P1. Charles Leclerc is up into P2 after starting P8, and George Russell, who was your leader and started on pole position and actually did manage this race very well in this first stint, is P3. Max Verstappen is P4. Nico Hulkenberg is currently up 6 positions as well into P5 with Antonelli in P6. But those medium compound runners, though, are bleeding time left, right and centre, as you can see on the last laps there. Antonelli on the hard compound tyre just did a sub 16 second into that last lap as he is looking to get past Nico Hulkenberg, which I imagine he will do very quickly. And what will be brilliant now for Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc would be a safety car, wouldn't it? Because they get a very cheap pit stop here or a red flag. We haven't seen a red flag in the last 7 years here at the Canadian Grand Prix, but we have seen a very high percentage, over 80% in the last 7 years. We have seen a safety car, and half of those have also seen a VSC. So very high potential of that occurring. But Lando Norris did just respond with a fastest first sector there compared to anyone out on circuit. So how well has Lando been able to manage these tyres? A 2.1 second pit stop from Oscar Piastri has managed to get him out into P7. Nice gap for him. Let's see how he'll be able to fare on those hard compound tyres now. Of course, he got overtaken on merits by Kimi Antonelli at the start of this race as he slots back into a net P4 at this moment in time, as Carlos Sainz has made his way up past Ollie Behrman into P11, as Carlos Sainz, who also started on the hard compound tyre, making moves further down the field here. He's currently up 5 positions, but a number of drivers have already made pit stops. Hadjar, Colapinto and Alonso. Alonso has found himself down in 18th place. He has lost a considerable amount of time in this first stint on those medium tyres. They fell off a cliff, and it seems Aston Martin were too slow to respond in pitting him onto the hard compound tyre, as he now finds himself behind a big train of Albon. All 10 cars are ahead of Fernando Alonso at the moment, with only 2 of those on the mediums. So Fernando Alonso, the Aston Martin team, I think may have potentially dropped the ball here, and he's going to lose a considerable amount of time on that hard compound tyre where he has currently rejoined the track. We have currently 53 laps remaining at the moment, as it will be 52 when Lando Norris crosses the start-finish line. Lando Norris leads from Charles Leclerc at this moment in time. Those drivers started on the hard compound tyre and are yet to pit still at this moment in time. Track temperature is currently 50 degrees. That is why we are seeing issues with those medium compound tyres in that first stint, where the drivers, of course, are starting on very high fuel. The car is as heavy as it's going to be, and it's going to be putting as more energy in those tyres at any point during the race. So yes, that is why we have seen, with those track temperatures as high as they are, those mediums fall off a cliff, as Behrman now pits as well, as Piastri sets the fastest lap of the race and the fastest last sector with a 15.5 last time around. So there is pace in that McLaren, as Lando Norris did a 16.185 last time out. But of course, he's on a varying strategy here. Could he be on a 2-stop, or could he be on a 1-stop? Currently on plan A is the case that has been reported to Lando Norris. 3 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, who is in P2. George Russell, P3. He has made a pit stop after starting on the medium compound tyres. He is, last time around, he was a couple of attempts quicker than that of both Leclerc and Norris. Verstappen, a little bit slower than George Russell for the majority of this race thus far. He is in P4. Kimi Antonelli in P5. His pace looks pretty decent, as well as Piastri, as we know, fastest man out on track, in P6. Hulkenberg is up 4 positions still in P7, and he's having a great race at the moment, as Alex Albon is holding everyone up at this moment in time, as Alonso dispatches Gasly into turn 10, but he may lose that position potentially down into turn 13. We will see, as Hulkenberg finally pits, but he had a nice gap between him and Alex Albon, as Albon now gets overtaken by Ocon into turn 13. So we are starting to see some overtakes here, as Lewis Hamilton also dispatches Alex Albon down into turn 1 as well, as Albon is starting to really struggle on those medium compound tyres. You do suspect that it will be him to come in and pit next time around, as he is bleeding time left, right and centre. And especially with his teammate, who has also dispatched him down into turn 3 as well. So Alex Albon is now down into P10, but he has lost considerably more positions than that after losing a couple at the start of this race as well, after being forced out of position by Colapinto down into turn 8, which allowed Hulkenberg through. But yes, Verstappen, fastest first sector there for him, a fastest lap for him last time around with a 15.787. And well, those guys who are on the newer hard compound tyres and have already made their stop, they are considerably quicker than that of Norris and Leclerc, with that gap coming down. 2.3 seconds is the gap from George Russell to Leclerc at the moment, and Lando Norris last time did a 16.3. This time he's done a 16.3 again, so he's very consistent with his laps, but Charles Leclerc slightly quicker and eking into that gap. But how will their strategies fare today, of course, on that alternate strategy? Has this guy commentating been drinking, keeps mixing up words and not breathing weird? That's up to you, Richard. But I'm trying my best to relay a lot of data at very, very quick periods of time. So, yeah, try my best, man. Try my best. Verstappen, fastest first sector again, by the way, in P4. 15.7, slightly took out a bit of time on George Russell into P3. As a slight delay in the data there, but Lando 2.9 seconds. So even though he lost a bit of time last lap to Charles Leclerc, he has just maintained that gap to Charles Leclerc at this moment in time. Norris is wishing for a safety car. They are wishing for a safety car right now. They're wishing for a cheap pit stop, or really a red flag at this moment in time. Not entirely sure where they're sitting in relation to their strategy options. Albon says, I don't really know why you don't listen to me. It really annoys me. We have an aggressive Albon on the radio, and understandably so, as he is losing so much time, and I thought he would have pitted last time around. He's down in P10, 24 laps conducted on this medium compound tyre. It was an old tyre that he initially started on, and well, he has lost a lot of positions as it currently stands and is still yet to make a pit stop. Maybe they're trying to go for a one stop here, Williams. We will see, but he's just about to be overtaken again by Yuki Tsunoda, who is up 7 positions into P10. He had that 10-place grid penalty, of course, and started from 18th place today, with Lawson and Gasly starting from the pit lane. Pit loss time is the time spent in the pits. Yes, 18.5 seconds. 18.5 seconds. What can we see here? Why is Hamilton P17? As Albon is still fuming over the radio. He's still fuming over the radio. We've seen, of course, Alex Albon quite aggressive over the radio this year, as he has been moving his way up the grid, of course, in that Williams car and qualifying higher. Albon, he is not happy with them at the moment and their strategy decisions. But Hamilton is down into P7 at the moment, not P17. He is down in P7 as he waited a little bit longer to make his pit stop than those ahead of him. So, yes, he will have fresher tyres, arguably, and he should be able to close the gap. But he has lost he did lose a little bit of time by coming out into a bit of traffic. We'll see how that plays out for him. But with 48 laps remaining, it is Lando Norris leading from Charles Leclerc at the moment. Those two drivers started on the hard compound tyre. 22 laps conducted from them on this tyre as we are on lap 23. And, well, they are yet to pit at this moment in time, with George Russell and Verstappen, who have pitted, started on the mediums. They are closing down on the front two. George Russell 1.6 seconds back from Leclerc and a bit further back from Lando Norris at this moment in time. Max Verstappen is closing in a bit on George Russell, as Albon has lost another position to Gabriel Bortoleto at this moment in time, and well, it looks like he's going to lose another one as well to Fernando Alonso down into turn 1, as Alonso has much fresher tyres than that of the Williams driver. And will Alonso be able to swoop around Alex Albon into turn 2? And the Spaniard can, and Albon is losing so much time here. Are the Williams team trying to do a one-stop strategy? We will see. If so, it hasn't quite necessarily been relayed to Alex Albon, as he is not happy, of course, with seeing so many cars come past him, as he did start in P9 today, and he finds himself in P13, but a number of drivers are still yet to make a pit stop, as you can see. Ocon, Sainz, Tsunoda, Bortoleto, Stroll behind him, Lawson, Gasly, Hulkenberg, and Gasly. He's going to be very, very susceptible to them, as you do think, look, Stroll is going to be attacking him very shortly. What are Williams playing at? We will see how it plays out for them. But the front four are in a bit of a league of their own at the moment. Kimi Antonelli has been losing time to that front four. 1:16.1 last time around. He is being closed down upon, not at a rate of knots, but by a couple of tenths per lap to that of to Max Verstappen, to Oscar Piastri, as Alex Albon loses another position to Lance Stroll this time around. Oh my goodness, as Albon does finally pit. Albon finally pits, and there we go. Alex Albon finally into the pits. Where will that bring him? It'll bring him out dead last. He will have some clean air. We'll see how this plays out for him, but he's going to have to do, if they're sticking to a one-stop strategy here, this is a very, very bold call by the Williams team. Can Alex Albon take a set of hard compound tyres to 47 laps? We are a step softer here than last year, of course. And, well, it's going to be a very tall order for him. But if anyone can do it, maybe Alex Albon can. But Lando Norris currently 3 seconds ahead of Charles Leclerc, comfortably holding that gap to Charles at the moment in time with 47 laps remaining. George Russell closing in on Charles. What is the strategy here by Ferrari? What is the strategy for Lando Norris? When are they going to pit? What is the options for them? The strategy options for today, there was no strategy option provided by Pirelli for starting on the hard compound tyre. So we do not know when that pit window is for those on the hard compound tyre, surprisingly. So yes, half of the field did start on the hard compound tyre, and I'm surprised Pirelli didn't even suggest that, as George Russell does a 15.7 at this moment in time. My question is it a one-stop strategy, or is it still a two-stop for Norris and Charles Leclerc? As we do see Lance Stroll, the first driver on the hard compound tyre. Charles Leclerc has been reported plan B. Leclerc says, I think plan C, as he makes his way through the alphabet, and they report copy. So no idea what plan C is for Charles Leclerc at the moment, but he's going quite nicely, as is Lando Norris up front, with George Russell now within the DRS of Charles Leclerc. Finally for him, as I was saying, that Lance Stroll is the first driver to start on the hard compound tyre to pit. So he has just pitted, and I wonder if that will maybe cause some other teams to potentially respond to that who are already on the hard compound tyre. We will see. But George Russell all over the rear wing of Charles Leclerc right now, who is currently running his own races. George Russell sets the fastest lap of the race, a 15.563. Max Verstappen is not far behind him either, only a tenth and a half behind, as he's set just lapping a little bit slower than George Russell, as George Russell has finally got into the DRS of the Ferrari driver. And you do think it is a matter of time with, of course, 13 laps, 12 lap difference in those tyre life for Charles Leclerc and George Russell. George Russell started on the medium compound tyres. Charles still yet to pit, as is Lando Norris, but Leclerc did respond to George Russell being close behind him, as he took out half a second almost on Lando Norris last time around. But Lando currently running his own race at the moment, still on plan A, while Charles Leclerc is currently on plan C. But George Russell, let's see if he's going to be able to dispatch Charles, and whether or not Charles will decide to pit or not, or stay out there, as George Russell does the fastest middle sector out of anyone today, and even within the even within the toe of Charles Leclerc. That's fair going, because of course you still lose a lot of grip through the chicanes. As there we go, DRS open, and Charles Leclerc has no response to George Russell. Not quite his race at this moment in time. Of course, George Russell started on pole position, and he has led this race, not from start to finish at the moment, or start to this point at this moment in time, but he has done everything that has been asked of him. He is currently net P1, with Lando Norris still yet to pit, to 15.299 there for George Russell, as 2 purple laps in a row to get past Charles Leclerc, and Charles Leclerc doesn't pit, so he is staying out there at this moment in time, and Max Verstappen will next be on the agenda for Charles Leclerc. But as you just saw with George Russell, I don't think Charles will have much of a response or a defence to Max Verstappen, even if he does maintain DRS to the Mercedes ahead as well. Kimi Antonelli has just done the fastest first sector out of anyone. This is starting to see a bit of a move and a response to Piastri, as last time around Antonelli did a 15.7. So we are seeing drivers, of course, look after their tyres, balancing the management, of course, with the tyre thermal degradation that you do see here at Montreal. And Antonelli, he's just starting to use a bit more of life in that hard compound tyre here, but we still have 44 laps remaining. So still a very, very long way to go in this race. So tyre management is key here, and I think that's Alex Albon, who's currently out behind Lance Stroll. I think it's a very tall order for him to try and take these tyres to the end, if a one-stop is what Williams were playing at. As Leclerc still able to hold off Verstappen at the moment, as Charles did still get the toe from George Russell last time out. So Max does need another lap to dispatch Charles Leclerc. We'll see whether or not if he has that extra grip to dispatch him sooner rather than later, because he wants to stay on the back of George Russell here. This race win is still very much on the cards for Max Verstappen, as it is for George Russell. And well, Lando Norris will be hoping, of course, for a safety car right now, or a red flag of any sort, as Tsunoda is coming under attack from Alonso down into turn 13. But yes, Lando Norris doing what is asked of him at this moment in time on the hard compound tyre. We'll see how long it takes George Russell to get up to the back of that McLaren. Oscar Piastri, though, update on him. He started P3. He lost a position to Antonelli on the first lap. A great move from Antonelli into turn 3. And, well, Piastri has not been able to really respond to the pace of Kimi Antonelli since the start of this race, and is currently sitting 2.5 seconds back from the young Italian. So Antonelli having a very, very good race at this moment in time. But let's keep an eye on Verstappen, shall we? As Verstappen in the DRS of Charles Leclerc, who is 1.5 seconds back from Russell now down into turn 13. Will he have enough to get past Charles into turn 13? No, not enough. And, well, Charles Leclerc pits actually out of the way of Max Verstappen. That will be absolute music to Verstappen's ears as he saw the red Ferrari dip straight on into the pit lane. Of course, a very fast entry into the pit lane here. You go straight on at turn 13 rather than turn into any corner. Charles Leclerc finally pitting. When will Lando pit? Let's see how long Lando will stay out on this hard compound tyre. He is being caught by Russell, but something that Lando has done very well looking at his previous laps. He's been super consistent with his lap times. He's been around the 16.1 to 16.3 second mark. He has not been taking any extra life out of those tyres, and he absolutely necessarily needs to. So Lando doing very, very good work at the moment, managing this race at the front, and maybe he is going to go for a 2-stop here. It'd be a tall order for him to do so on the mediums, but let's see how he fares. George Russell will be catching him very quickly. 1.3 seconds now. Just under 1.4 seconds is the gap from Russell to Lando Norris. Antonelli update. He did a 1:15.6 last time around to Piastri's 1:15.5. Well, pretty much there's only a couple of hundredths separating those two drivers at the moment as Piastri, as Norris does pit. Norris into the pit lane, guys. Norris into the pit lane. So he has responded to Charles Leclerc. Let's see where he comes out. There's a bit of a sizable gap to Lando and Charles. Let's see where they arrive. Of course, Lando doesn't want to be undercut by Charles because that will put a spanner in his works to this race. Is it a bit of a slow pit stop for McLaren? We will see, as it's going to be very tight, I think, for Lando and Charles Leclerc. Of course, Leclerc still has to head into the braking zone of turn 1 and then make his way round turn 2. And, well, Lando has gone for the medium tyre. Interesting. So Charles Leclerc has gone for a hard strategy, no doubt, with a medium tyre at the end, because you have to use 2 different compounds of tyre, and Norris has committed to a 2-stop of a medium in the middle with potentially a hard at the end. So there we go. Interesting developments here in this race. How will this middle stint fare for Lando Norris? Now, we saw drivers in the first stint last around 13 to 14 laps. Now, with the extra fuel that has been burned off and the cars being slightly lighter than they were at the start of this race, Lando should be able to take these tyres a bit longer. Track temperature is still very high though, but let's see how this fares. He is the only driver currently out on the grid at this moment in time, out on track on the medium compound tyre. Let's see how this plays out for us. But Oscar Piastri starting to make maybe a bit of a move on Kimi Antonelli. Fastest first sector last time around. He took half a tenth out of Antonelli in the middle sector as well. Let's see if this is a response from Piastri as he just sets the fastest lap of the race of 15.272 and takes 2 tenths out of Antonelli. Let's see where Piastri will be able to take this McLaren right now. Is he on the attack of Kimi Antonelli? We'll keep an eye out on that interval, currently sitting at 2.2 seconds, because the driver he has currently behind him is his teammate and his closest championship rival. As it currently stands, ladies and gentlemen, the championship permutations would see Oscar Piastri extend his championship lead by 2 points over Lando Norris, with Piastri gaining 12 points and Norris gaining 10. Max Verstappen will be gaining 18 points and would be on 155 compared to Piastri's 198. So a slight improvement for him there, gaining 6 points on Oscar Piastri, but not quite enough. George Russell, of course, would be gaining 25 and would be 136 points compared to Verstappen's 155. So Oscar Piastri, all he needs to do really is still finish ahead of his teammate, but of course he'd love to get a greater advantage by the end of this race. Still a very long way to go, 39 laps remaining. Albon is having a rough weekend. Albon, I don't know what Williams are playing at, to be perfectly honest with you. Williams did say that he was having a power unit issue, so maybe they were trying to manage his power unit remotely, and that's caused him issues. I don't know, but Albon is 100% not happy behind that steering wheel, as I am hearing on the radio. As Alonso has been told, be gentle, entry turn 3 and turn 8. As he says, we are racing, not testing. Fernando Alonso, love the spicy radio chat from Fernando Alonso, currently in P10 at this moment in time. We'll see how the strategy has played out for him. Of course, Ocon and Sainz still yet to make a pit stop. Fernando Alonso has made some good ground. Though, with that hard compound tyre. I did think he got held up unnecessarily so still. Don't think it was a great pit stop by Aston Martin, but we'll see how it fares for him. But Norris, the fastest lap last time around on the medium compound tyre. The only driver out on track at the moment on the mediums is understandably going quickest. He did a 15.255 compared to Piastri's 15.373. And well, Piastri, is that gap any closer to Antonelli at the moment? It's 2.2 seconds from Piastri to Kimi Antonelli. George Russell and Verstappen. Now George has been able to get some clean air. He has pulled out that gap to Verstappen at the front to 3 seconds. Kimi Antonelli, though, let's have a look as Piastri crossed the line, and it was another couple of... no, it wasn't actually. Kimi Antonelli responded to the fast lap of Piastri last time out, as Kimi Antonelli did a 15.394 compared to Piastri's 4.415. So almost identical lap times, but Kimi slightly quicker. So at the moment, Piastri not able to close down the gap to Kimi Antonelli sufficiently at this stage, but we will keep an eye on that battle. Closest out there on track at the moment is Fernando Alonso with Carlos Sainz. Alonso on 17-lap-old hards with Sainz, who is still yet to make a pit stop with 32-lap-old hards. As Leclerc sets the fastest first sector there out of anyone trying to close down on Lando Norris, and he was actually only a tenth slower than Lando at the moment. It seems the hard compound tyre is a very, very good race tyre here, but will it be the best race tyre come the end? We will see. But Sainz there, is he going to be overtaken by Fernando Alonso? You do think it is only a matter of time. Tsunoda doing quite well in P11 at the moment, still yet to make a pit stop as well, in up 7 places after starting from 18th place. Bortoletto still yet to make a pit stop, as is Lawson, Gasly, who both started from the pit lane. Nico Hulkenberg is trying to get past Pierre Gasly and Liam Lawson. They are really putting a spanner in his race at the moment, as he is looking to secure points today. The longer he stays behind those two, the better it is for Carlos Sainz and Esteban Ocon, who will be looking to try and sneak some points and fight for those last point scoring positions with the Stake F1 driver, who is looking to score two races in a row where he scores points, of course, with a great 5th place finish in Spain last time out. And it seems that he may be able to here, as he's got a great bit of traction out of turn 10. But Gasly will have the DRS on Liam Lawson as well. We'll see how they fare as they head side by side into turn 13, as Alonso got past Carlos Sainz previously. And Nico Hulkenberg, I think, just has to hold station, as Gasly, due to the toe and DRS of Liam Lawson, lives to fight another lap and holds off Nico Hulkenberg frustratingly, as Hulkenberg has considerably fresher tyres than that of Pierre Gasly, who started from the pit lane. Lewis has damage. Does Lewis have damage? Not entirely sure. I haven't seen or heard a replay yet of whether or not Lewis Hamilton does have damage. He's down in P7 at the moment, as Lando Norris sets the fastest lap last time around with a 15.1, and he's going quicker again as he's trying to respond, no doubt, to Charles Leclerc, who is closing that gap on the McLaren driver. Leclerc and Norris 5th and 6th. Of course, they started 7th and 8th, and well, they both started on the hard compound tyre, but the middle stint is a different approach. Norris's medium tyres warmed up now. He's setting the fastest lap. Exactly. It says Lewis has damage on the F1 lap by lap, but I'm not sure. Okay, that's fair enough. I'm yet to hear a response, actually, in relation to whether or not Lewis Hamilton has any damage. It may be the case. It may not. I'm not entirely sure. He's currently in P7. Last time out did a 15.872. He is on the much older hard compound tyres, and, well, we know that Ferrari doesn't have the overall pace compared to those front runners today. But we can see Kimi Antonelli is gaining a bit on Max Verstappen, by the way, guys. Verstappen has lost even more time to George Russell. 4.6 seconds is the gap to Verstappen and Russell at this moment in time. And you would say it's definitely too early for Max Verstappen to make another pit stop unless they do commit to a free stop like they did back in Spain. Of course, it is a shorter pit stop lost time here this weekend, guys. 18.5 seconds compared to, let's say, Imola, where it was 28 seconds, pushing the 30-second mark. So a free stop strategy could be viable here today, especially with the gaps that they do have available to them. You can see there that really there's a massive gap to Esteban Ocon at the moment. Max Verstappen and Esteban Ocon, almost 40 seconds is the gap. So plenty of time to make 2 pit stops if necessary and not worry about traffic. As Lando Norris is setting fastest lap after fastest lap, the first driver to go sub 15 seconds, a 1:14.966 from Lando on that medium compound tyre. He's 6.1 seconds back from Oscar Piastri at the moment. He took out half a second on Oscar Piastri, but I tell you what, at the moment, the gap to really be keeping an eye out on is not Nico Hülkenberg, who is looking to overtake Liam Lawson here and get behind his teammate as he did dispatch Pierre Gasly, as Hülkenberg does get past Liam Lawson down into turn 13. That's good for his race aspirations today. With Pierre Gasly in P16 as he gets overtaken by his teammate Colapinto. But the gap between Antonelli and Verstappen is getting closer. It's getting smaller. 1.4 seconds is the gap to Kimi Antonelli and Verstappen this time around. Last time around, Verstappen was a full near second slower than Antonelli. Not entirely sure what occurred to Max at the moment. Not sure if he's having issues or if his tyres are just falling off a cliff. Let's stay tuned with this battle, though, as Max Verstappen last time out does a 16.1 and Antonelli does a 15.4. Max either has mechanical issues here or his tyres have fallen off of a cliff. What is occurring with the Red Bull driver? We will see. Has he eaten his tyres? He is currently falling into the clutches to Kimi Antonelli. P3 at the moment, Kimi Antonelli. He's looking to make this a 1-2 with George Russell, and what a result this would be with 34 laps remaining for Mercedes if they could secure a 1-2 here. That's something that no one predicted at the start of this weekend. As Bortoletto no doubt will be swapping positions with Nico Hülkenberg very shortly, as we can see there as they head down into turn 13. Bortoletto on a completely different strategy to Nico Hülkenberg at this moment in time, but 1 second is the gap to Max Verstappen now. Max is either, as Hamilton says, yeah, I'm nowhere in this race, mate. I don't know what's happened. Pace is good considering the damage. So there we go. Confirmation from the Ferrari engineers that Lewis Hamilton does have damage to his car. Not entirely sure where that's occurred. But Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen. Antonelli, oh, he's just lost as Verstappen pits. Wow. Verstappen, doesn't have an issue. He clearly is struggling with those tyres, and this is potentially a free stop race here today for the Red Bull team. Once again, 2 race weekends in a row. Spain, they did the free stop, but what that does, that potentially leaves Max Verstappen vulnerable if there is another late safety car like we saw in Spain. But it's aggressive from Red Bull, and I do like to see it. That Red Bull just does not, on these softer compound tyres, does not have the management available in that machinery to make these tyres last. So I do think even with a hard compound tyre here, it's going to be a very long way. Maybe he can do it 33 laps, potentially. That's a very long way for Max Verstappen to take this hard compound tyre to the end, considering we just saw the severe drop-off in those tyres there. As Hülkenberg and Bortoletto do switch down into turn 13 there, as Colapinto has just got past Liam Lawson into P14. Number of drivers still yet to make a pit stop here, and they're happy to accept this loss of time that they have got at the moment as Charles Leclerc sets the fastest middle sector out of anyone. We'll keep an eye on Max Verstappen's pace, though. Currently in P6. Just hearing, hang on. As I'm just hearing that Bono is really coaching Antonelli at the moment with the management of his tyres as he's in the pits. Oh, apologies there. Just missed that while I was listening to the team radio as Antonelli is in the pits. Okay, so Antonelli responding, the Mercedes team responding to Max Verstappen. And well, where will Kimi Antonelli come out? I think Max is probably going to get him as they head down into turn 1 and turn 2. It's going to be very close between them. Will Antonelli be able to stay ahead of Lewis Hamilton here? We will see. Max Verstappen making his way. It's going to be side by side between Kimi Antonelli, and I think Kimi Antonelli has got ahead. An unbelievable pit stop by Kimi Antonelli and Mercedes, but Verstappen comes back past Kimi Antonelli into turn 3. Kimi out on those fresh hards, not up to temperature compared to Max Verstappen, who has those hard compound tyres, an extra lap warmer, and he's able to utilise that extra traction out of turn 2 and get back past the young Italian. But we know that Kimi Antonelli is performing very well here today as we saw him close down that gap on Max Verstappen. And well, you do think that really, and it's crazy to say, it's a matter of time, it's a matter of when, not if, Kimi Antonelli will get past Max Verstappen today, because how long will that Red Bull be able to make this hard compound tyre last, as Kimi Antonelli importantly got out ahead of Lewis Hamilton there, who is struggling with damage, which we have had confirmed on the radio by the Ferrari engineers. But Lando Norris there, is he going fastest again here? He set the fastest lap out of anyone again, as we have blue flags for Liam Lawson. Charles Leclerc also moving very handily at the moment as well in P4 on the hard compound tyres. But very, very good racing there between Kimi Antonelli and Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen, with that extra lap of hard compound tyres, having them warmed up, he was able to utilise that traction out of turn 2 and get past Kimi Antonelli. But a great pit stop, another great pit stop by Mercedes today, which we so often don't see. Piastri is being asked, the key question from here, Oscar, is whether we can get to the end without graining front left. I can already see a small band, is what Piastri has informed. So, Oscar Piastri could be doing a one-stop strategy here today. It's a very, very long way for them to take these tyres. That would mean these tyres would be doing 50-plus laps to the end of this race. I think that's a very, very tall order for any driver out there wanting to do a one-stop today. But we will see. We still get to see Ocon, Sainz and Tsunoda make a pit stop, as Bortoletto as well and Pierre Gasly. They are hoping, no doubt, for safety cars to try and get a cheap pit stop as it currently stands. Liam Lawson out at the back of the field here now on a medium compound tyre. We'll see how he fares as well. Of course, started from the pit lane just like Pierre Gasly, so he was always having an outside shot at. He had always had a very, very outside chance of points today after a poor qualifying yesterday. But guys, if you were enjoying this stream, big thank you. 12,000 of you in the stream right now. Please continue to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button as well. Of course, we'll be back for every race weekend this year, and well, we still have 30 laps remaining of this brilliant Canadian Grand Prix. So yes, if you have been enjoying it, of course we had some issues with syncing data at the start of this race, but now we are in the full flow of things. We are over halfway in this Canadian Grand Prix, and it's going to be very, very interesting to the end still, no doubt. Lots of drivers very close out on track. Yep, so thank you for becoming a member of the pit crew, by the way, buddy. Much appreciated. What has happened to Hamilton, ladies and gentlemen? I do not know entirely what damage Lewis Hamilton has to his car. I haven't seen an onboard shot of Lewis Hamilton's car, so I don't think it's anything that's noticeably visible. It may be some damage to the underside of the car. As we know, in this ground effect era, you can pick up, with these cars running very low, we can pick up damage to the underside of the car with the floor, and that causes quite a considerable loss of performance, which unfortunately for Lewis Hamilton means that he is having quite a lonely race today down in P7, but we'll see how the rest of the race fares for him. A late safety car may provide him an opportunity, you never know. But at the moment, George Russell leads from Oscar Piastri in P1. P1 is George Russell. He has commanded this race at the moment. He is currently 8.2 seconds ahead of Oscar Piastri, with Lando Norris in P3. George Russell controlling this race and seems to be much better on his tyres compared to everyone else. As Verstappen looks to be potentially committed to a free stop, or he is going to try and eke out this hard compound tyre to the end. We have seen in both stints their tyres fall off a cliff on Max Verstappen's car. So struggling today, that Red Bull at this very, very hot circuit Villeneuve in Montreal. 50 degrees is the track temperature here. That's making it difficult for these drivers to balance the rear tyres. Of course, thermal degradation is a key factor here at Montreal, with the higher traction zones out of course, all of these chicanes and hairpins that we have here. But yes, Lando Norris in P3 on a alternate strategy compared to his teammate, as George Russell has dived into the pit lane, ladies and gentlemen. George Russell, who I thought might be doing a one-stop here, has done 29 laps on this middle stint and is pitting and is committing to the two-stop. So he's comfortably, I think, going to come out ahead of Max Verstappen here. And, well, unlike Kimi Antonelli, who came out side by side and slightly ahead of Max, and, well, even though Max has much hotter tyres and warmed up tyres in that of George Russell, there is a sizable gap there between Russell and Verstappen of 4 seconds, which Russell will be able to ease his tyres into the right window and then eventually continue to pull out that gap, as he has done in this race thus far, from Max Verstappen. But that promotes Piastri into P1 with Lando Norris P2. What a late safety car would do for these drivers now, or a late or a red flag, with 28 laps remaining. Charles Leclerc is in P3. George Russell has just made that second pit stop, is in P4 ahead of Max Verstappen in P5, who is looking to be closed down upon by Kimi Antonelli. Antonelli, but at the moment he's managing that gap to Antonelli quite comfortably. Lewis Hamilton, who has damage to his Ferrari, is in P7. Alonso up into P8. A good job from him at the moment, as we expected him to fall behind the usual suspects ahead after a great qualifying yesterday in P6. Esteban Ocon, still yet to make a pit stop, is in P9, as Carlos Sainz as well is in P10. He's up 6 positions. As Leclerc is looking to get past the lap car of Liam Lawson as they head down into turn 1. Nico Hulkenberg is in P12. Bortoletto is in 13th, still yet to make a pit stop as well. Colapinto has made a pit stop and he's going quite nicely in P14. He'll gain a number of positions on those up ahead of him even if there is a safety car, I believe, with that gap at the moment. Be close. It'd be very close. It'd be very close if I look at that gap right now. Isaac Hadjar is in P15. Not been a good race for him and of course qualifying yesterday, even though we got into Q3. That 3-place grid penalty for impeding Carlos Sainz has put him on the back foot here this weekend, and this race isn't going too nicely for him either, which is very rare for the Frenchman. Gasly in P16, 4 places up at the moment. Behrman is in P17, down 4 places into P17. Stroll was in 18th. Or Albon, I don't know what's happened with Albon. He lost 2 positions at the start of the race, and well, since then the Williams team decided to take him very, very long in this race. In that first stint, he lost a considerable amount of time and positions, and well, he is now in P19. Supposedly, though, does have a potential power unit issue, so are Williams trying to manage that? But if they are, it seems pretty useless, to be honest with you, to try and keep him out there if they do have another power unit, which of course would be the 4th weekend in a row that Mercedes power unit has had issues. And Liam Lawson is down in P20, the only driver to be lapped thus far, but not for very much longer, as we can see Piastri fastly approaching the back of that train, which Bortoletto is leading. Lando should box for new hards if he has them now or in the next laps, or the strategy. Should he? I don't know. I don't think so, because he's going quite nicely at the moment, to be honest, Lando Norris. His lap times are very good on that medium compound tyre, so he's kind of balanced out his strategy, matched his strategy with Oscar Piastri at this moment in time. If you look at his lap times, a 15.7, exactly what Piastri did last time out, and Piastri has been on this set of hard compound tyres longer. As Piastri has been told, is saying the car is getting harder to drive, there is degradation, but not really graining. So Piastri complaining that the car is becoming a bit harder to drive at the moment. Will he pit? We will see, and he does indeed. Right on cue there, Oscar Piastri dives into the pit lane. So they potentially asked him if he could get this tyre to the end, and he has stated that he cannot because of the way that the car is driving. So that promotes Lando Norris into clean air, into P1 on a set of medium compound tyres. The only other driver on the set of mediums at the moment is Liam Lawson. So how will this fare for Lando Norris? Now, what's important here is that Lando Norris is currently 7.7 seconds ahead of George Russell. Now, remember, if you joined us for our pre-race show, the pit stop lost time was 18.5 seconds under green flag conditions. But if there is a VSC or a safety car, there will be a 9-second advantage under VSC or safety car conditions, which at the moment he could potentially he will no doubt be looking to try and pull out on George Russell. But of course, the win would be great for Lando. It's a very tall order for him. But what he wants to do is finish ahead of Piastri and try and close down that 10-second gap on the championship leader, which is Oscar Piastri. Right, so as it currently stands, Lando is P1, Charles Leclerc P2, George Russell P3. There was a turn 13 incident between Stroll and Gasly there. It has been noted, forcing another driver off the track. Lance Stroll did go for a move down the inside into turn 13. Not entirely sure who came out, who was ahead at the apex there. I just caught that move a bit too late on the TV coverage. But Lewis Hamilton has also made a pit stop there in those moments, as I was just reviewing, of course, the pit stop lost times from Lando to those behind. But George Russell is net P1 at the moment. Charles Leclerc still going long in this middle stint as well. We have 24 laps remaining, and well, how much longer will Norris and Charles Leclerc go on this middle stint? Could Charles Leclerc take this tyre to the very end? We will see. Max Verstappen, though, 3.1 seconds back from George Russell, and well, Kimi Antonelli, is he now starting to turn on the afterburners and try and close that gap down on Max Verstappen? says under investigation there, Lance Stroll and Pierre Gasly, as we mentioned. So that is still ongoing at the moment. Kimi Antonelli struggling to get past Liam Lawson. Unsurprisingly, Liam Lawson in the RB car, not being too kind in letting past Kimi Antonelli. So, of course, the sister car there, not being kind to the competitor, trying to chase down the big team of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. Can see the top three unless there is a crash. Maybe, yep. Is the corpse of the groundhog still on track? I've absolutely no idea. As Lando Norris pits, Lando Norris has pitted, guys, out of P1, and well, he has pitted, so he'll be going on to the hard compound tyre to the end as Antonelli sets the fastest last sector there. And what tyre will Norris come out on? Yes, indeed, a hard compound tyre, and he will be out one position behind Oscar Piastri, who will be looking to try and close down the gap to Kimi Antonelli and potentially Max Verstappen, who pitted some time earlier than that of both McLarens. Could we see potentially the two McLarens go at it? Of course, they are fighting for the World Championship, and well, Max Verstappen is only a position ahead of them, and he, at the moment, as it currently stands, Piastri will be gaining 10 points, extending his advantage by 2 points over Lando Norris in the championship, with Verstappen gaining 5 points on Piastri and gaining 7 points on Norris. Of course, he lost a considerable amount of points last time out in Spain, though. As Lawson has been noted, I did flag it, Liam Lawson has been noted for ignoring blue flags. I'm just saying, guys, I'm just saying. As Albon stopped, and there's a yellow flag through turn 10. Albon has stopped. The driver, who we have said has had a very torrid time today, he's had potential power unit issues, and we have a yellow flag. Now the question is whether or not Albon has been able to pull his car over in a safe manner. There is a lot of grass to the right-hand side there, and it seems that the track is indeed clear in Sector 11. So Alex Albon's car, has he been able to get going again? Has he pulled over? What is in tyres? Yes, Alex Albon has pulled his car over in a safe spot. So there will be no safety car. Alex Albon has pulled his car over in a safe spot. That's a second retirement for Alex Albon in a row after Spain. And well, it seems that the power unit issues that have plagued the Mercedes teams in the last 4 weeks has reared its ugly head again. But the one team that has not had issues with its power unit is the McLarens, as Lance Stroll has been given a 10-second time penalty for forcing another driver off the track. Oh dear, Lance Stroll. Oh dear. And well, Liam Lawson is being investigated for failing to adhere to blue flags. He ignored them. I did state that he took a very long time to let Kimi Antonelli pass, and well, I still have really faults that I think there's an unwritten rule that is given, an unwritten rule, shall we say, or just a rule that is given to RB drivers when they join, that they are to hold up drivers behind for as long as possible if it means it is a competitor to the main team. But hey ho. We'll never get that confirmed. But with Alex Albon retiring there, and the only retirement of this race thus far, and not bringing out the safety car due to him being able to pull over to a safe place at the moment, is Charles Leclerc, who is leading this race but still yet to make another pit stop, as he has to make another pit stop to put on another set of compounds. It has to be a different set of compound tyres. You have to use 2 different compounds in a race, otherwise you will be disqualified. So Charles has to make another pit stop, guys. So George Russell is net P1 as it currently stands. As we can see, Behrman has been noted there for an investigation with Isaac Hadjar. I'm not entirely sure what happened there through turn 13. Just waiting to see exactly what happened with... no, that's an onboard with with Colapinto, not with one of the Williams drivers there. But Oscar Piastri goes fastest in the middle sector. But yes, Max Verstappen is in net P2. Antonelli now starting to gain a bit on Max Verstappen. That 1.6 second gap now. It was around 2 seconds not too long ago, as Piastri is also looking to close down. Subsequently, the gap on Antonelli up ahead as well. We have 7 lap fresher tyres. We know that McLaren is very quick in clean air, and catching is one thing, but overtaking is another. Can Piastri potentially put another car between him and his teammate in this championship battle in this race today with 20 laps remaining? Lando Norris with Bortoleto, who's just come out ahead of him, but there'll be blue flags for Bortoleto with Lando down in P6. Trading fastest laps last time around, Piastri and Lando Norris. as they're on fresh tyres, as Alonso dives into the pit lane as well. Where will he come out? He could be losing potentially a position to Nico Hülkenberg, but he will be having, of course, he will have a lot fresher tyres to the end of this race, and we'll see a feisty Fernando Alonso in the closing stages of this Canadian Grand Prix. That's the only Fernando Alonso that we want to see. Can I explain why Leclerc has to pit again when two-stopper isn't required? Yes, as I mentioned, he has to. Every driver has to use two different compounds of tyre in a race, a hard, a medium, or a soft. Any sort of combination, they cannot use the same compound of tyre. So Leclerc hasn't used the medium yet or the soft. He's only used the hard, so he has to change onto either the medium or soft at the end. And it's most likely the medium that he will use. Otherwise, he would be disqualified from the race. But guys, if you are enjoying this stream and you're enjoying this watch along, 13,000 of you in here at the moment, please hit the like button. But more importantly, hit that subscribe button. Let's get this stream to 48,000 subscribers. That'd be much, much appreciated, guys. Of course, as always, we are here every weekend for these races. And yeah, I'm glad that you guys keep tuning back in. Verstappen eating 10 tenths of seconds from Russell. Can he catch him, Mike? Well, at the moment, Verstappen last time around did a 1:15.0 compared to George Russell's 1:15.3. I presume what is happening right at this moment in time is that George Russell is just biding his time to attack Charles Leclerc. As Piastri has been told, Leclerc's pace is dropping off. This is a straight fight between you, Verstappen, and Antonelli. So they are ruling out the win. But second place is a fight between Verstappen and Antonelli, is what Piastri has been told by his engineer. And well, right on cue, Piastri has just got into the DRS of the young Mercedes driver as they head down the back straight into turn 13. But George Russell is hitting the dirty air, no doubt, of that red Ferrari, who is refusing to pit just yet. That is allowing Max Verstappen to just chip away a bit of time on George Russell at the front here, as he did a 1:15.1 last time around. But it's all about Antonelli and Piastri. Antonelli, of course, looking to secure a podium here. His first podium in F1. Will he be able to do it? He needs to hold off, of course, a very fast Piastri, who is on 7-lap fresher hard compound tyres. And Antonelli, who was looking to chase Max Verstappen, is now looking in his rearview mirrors at the papaya of Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc has been told, what are we waiting for? We don't want to do too many laps on the medium. I don't get it. The medium is good for me. It's good for me, Charles Leclerc, as he's fighting his engineers over the radio, as is so often with the Ferrari engineers. Charles Leclerc wants to pit, but he is being told to stay out there. He is going to run out of laps if he doesn't put on that fresh new medium compound tyre, of course. And with an 18.5 second pit stop, he is going to lose a considerable amount of time in this next pit stop to Lando Norris and this front pack, as Lando has just set the fastest first sector and the second fastest sector as well. But Piastri is fully within the DRS of Antonelli now, but Antonelli is also closing in on Max Verstappen as Charles Leclerc finally pits, as he was having arguments with his mechanics over the radio. It's now or never for Charles Leclerc. Will he be able to go on a quick charge at the end? Let's see how quick he will be, as he'll be one of the few drivers on the medium compound tyre, as Piastri doesn't have enough under braking into turn 1 on Kimi Antonelli. And Lando Norris, a 1:14.3 for him last time out. He took 3 attempts out of Oscar Piastri, who has now got into the dirty air and under the rear wing of Kimi Antonelli. But Antonelli is also taking out time on Max Verstappen. He took 4 attempts out of the Red Bull last time out. And George Russell, well, this will be music to his ears, as he's just been given the green light for some free air ahead of him, as Charles Leclerc moved out of his way. But he does have a bit of lap traffic ahead of him, which will be affecting him. But those behind him, Verstappen, Antonelli, Piastri and Norris, will also have to do the same. Now, Charles Leclerc is on the medium compound tyre. He's currently 10 seconds behind Lando Norris. What can Charles Leclerc do here? Will he be able to catch Lando to the end of this race? Will he be able to sneak a late podium, potentially? Let's keep an eye on Charles Leclerc's progress. Of course, he'll be looking to get past Liam Lawson, who has already been flagged, of course, for not adhering to blue flags, but he's not adhering to them again either at this moment in time, as Charles Leclerc will no doubt be very frustrated on the radio, as he does finally adhere to those blue flags, and Charles Leclerc gets past Liam Lawson down into turn 13. So we'll keep an eye on Charles's progress. The only driver in the top 10 on the set of medium compound tyres, as Pierre Gasly finally pits 52 laps on those hard compound tyres. A valiant effort from Pierre, who started 20th from the pit lane. It was the only thing he could hope for, was goal hang for a safety car, and that moment has unfortunately gone well past him. Lando Norris, the fastest first sector from him again. He's trying to move and gain on Oscar Piastri and Antonelli at this moment in time. He'll be hoping that Antonelli holds Piastri up for a bit longer so that he can attack his own teammate here. Could we see the two McLaren drivers go at it in the closing stages of this race? He just made 3 temps up, nearly 4 temps on Piastri in that first sector alone as Piastri is coming unstuck behind Kimi Antonelli. That Mercedes is pacey here today, as we have seen from George Russell, but also from Kimi Antonelli, who in the meantime, while he's trying to hold off Oscar Piastri in his rearview mirrors, he's closing down Max Verstappen. 1.3 seconds, 1.2 seconds is the gap to Antonelli on Verstappen, and Piastri in that McLaren just does not have enough at the moment. Will he have? He'll have DRS down into turn 1 though, but Antonelli is starting to get the benefit of the toe from Verstappen. He's not close enough for DRS, but he's close enough for the toe, and Piastri, although he's under the rear wing of Antonelli, just doesn't have enough at this moment in time, as Liam Lawson looks to be going quite slowly, it seems, at the moment. Liam Lawson is going very slowly down the back straight here. Is he going to be able to make it to the pit lane? As we can see Liam Lawson there going very slowly down the back straight there. What is happening with Liam Lawson's car? Is this a retirement for the RB driver? He's currently done 15 laps on these mediums and he has now gone into the pit lane, Liam Lawson, after going very slowly there. Turn 13 incident, no further investigation for Behrman and Hadjar. But while Oscar Piastri is becoming unstuck here, Lando Norris is closing in the gap. 2 seconds is the gap to Piastri now. Leclerc has lost a little bit of time by getting past Actually, Gasly came out ahead of Charles Leclerc, so Charles Leclerc has unfortunately lost a couple of important seconds there on Lando Norris with getting stuck behind Pierre Gasly. So really, really unfortunate there for Charles Leclerc. But here we go again, Isaac Hadjar moving out of the way for Kimi Antonelli and Oscar Piastri. Or is Oscar Piastri going to get it held? Oh, and Antonelli absolutely will love to see that in his rearview mirrors, as Isaac Hadjar has got in between Antonelli and Piastri through the last chicane, through the wall of champions. And that will also be absolutely brilliant to see if you're in the cockpit of Lando Norris's car, because that has allowed him just a bit of extra breathing space, Antonelli, from Piastri, and that's allowed Norris to get that gap to under 2 seconds on his teammate and his championship rival at the moment. At this moment in time, Piastri will be gaining 2 points on Lando Norris, gaining 12 compared to Lando's 10, and that gap will actually be going to 12 points overall in the championship. And Piastri would love to see it be extended, but he's becoming very, very unstuck behind Kimi Antonelli, who's trying to secure his first podium in F1. Of course, he's had a pole position in the sprint race at Miami, but was unable to convert it. And what a great result this would be for both Mercedes to be on the podium, especially George Russell leading. And well, George Russell has just come a little bit unstuck in some traffic as Max Verstappen has taken full advantage there and taken out nearly half a second on George down into turn 13. Max importantly gets past Ollie Behrman there. He only has Colapinto and Behrman, who have been fighting for the last few laps, and well, that gap is 1.2 seconds now for Verstappen and Russell, as Russell struggled trying to get past the lap cars there who were fighting. Verstappen 1 second behind. The top 5 are separated by just over 5 seconds at this moment in time, with 13 laps remaining, guys. The lap traffic getting slightly involved in here and making this race a bit tasty. Will George Russell be able to pull out that gap on Max Verstappen, who does have 5 lap older tyres, as Antonelli is now the one who's coming unstuck behind some lap traffic as Piastri is trying to get past Ollie Behrman here. Colapinto lets Antonelli through, and Colapinto and Behrman have been going toe-to-toe for quite some time, so they're strategically trying to let these top 5 drivers through so that they are able to hold on to their positions. Of course, with Ocon still yet to pit and Carlos Sainz, Colapinto is, as Ocon does pit now, Colapinto is definitely on the cards here, and Behrman are both fighting for the last points here in this race, potentially. We will see where Ocon and Sainz come out, as Piastri is trying to get, as Norris, by the way, Lando Norris is 1 second behind Oscar Piastri now. Will he be able to cheekily get past Colapinto down into turn 13? No. Oscar Piastri has definitely not had a fair rub of the green when it comes comes to the lap traffic. As you can see there, that Russell is being now putting out that gap again to Max Verstappen, 1.5 seconds behind currently. Antonelli 1.9 seconds behind, with Piastri trying to gain back the DRS as Ocon moves out of the way of Oscar Piastri, as actually Esteban Ocon has made a very, very good pit stop and currently holds on to the last point scoring position there. So Haas, with a great one-stop strategy by them, is currently ahead of Colapinto. We'll see if Colapinto will be able to nab that 10th place, but I think with 43 lap old hards, Ocon on a fresh set of mediums is comfortably going to drive away. But look at the two McLarens. Look at the two McLarens. We have George Russell in P1, 1.8 seconds ahead of Max Verstappen now after that lap traffic, closing the gap between the front two. George is now controlling this race as he has done throughout. Max Verstappen in P2. Antonelli is comfortably looking at P3 as Piastri is under attack potentially from his teammate, as Lance Stroll has been given another 10-second he has served his 10-second time penalty there. I hate it when they do it like that. He has served his 10-second time penalty. But Oscar Piastri, who was so looking at that last podium position, who was so looking at trying to gain extra points on his championship rival Lando Norris, who he started 4 positions ahead of today, is now looking in his rearview mirrors at defending from Lando Norris, who has 2-lap-old, fresher, hard compound tyres. And well, we could be seeing the two McLaren drivers with 11 laps remaining, plenty of racing laps remaining, going toe-to-toe here. This is what we want. This is what we want to see. Could we see fireworks here between the two McLaren drivers? Oscar Piastri, importantly, does not have the DRS or really a sufficient tow from Antonelli as it currently stands. He's actually lost a little bit of time to Antonelli there through that turn 6 and turn 7 corner. What a closing stage we have here in the Canadian Grand Prix, guys. If you have been enjoying it, please hit that subscribe button. Get this stream to over 48,000 subscribers. It'd be much appreciated. Nearly 15,000 of you in the stream. Let's get this stream to 5,000 likes, shall we? Go on, slam that like button, that thumbs up. It really, really helps me and lets me know that you're liking what you're seeing. But Lando Norris has got so much more traction than Oscar Piastri. He's half a second behind him at the moment. He's got DRS open. Will he go for a move down into turn 13? I think he's just a little bit too far back from his teammate at the moment, who is getting a little bit of help from Antonelli ahead. He hasn't got DRS, but he has enough just to stay ahead of his teammate at the moment. And I guess the question will be, how much is Piastri hurting from that dirty air of the Mercedes up ahead? And Piastri, who had a very good qualifying yesterday after digging deep after what has been pretty much a poor weekend for him in practice, well, is he going to be able to hold off his teammate here and importantly hold on to 2 extra points? Of course, in the grand scheme of things, it is only a few points for the play here. Piastri would still hold on to the championship lead if Norris gets past him, but with a very long season ahead and with how close the performance is of these two McLarens, every single point matters. Let's see how they get on, as Piastri has gained a little bit of time on Antonelli there, even though Antonelli had a fastest lap for him last time around. Fernando Alonso and Nico Hulkenberg are fighting it out, by the way, as Alonso is trying to get past Nico Hulkenberg for P8. He wants that place back, and rightfully so. He is on 10-lap-old hards compared to Hulkenberg's 30-lap different tyres. 40 laps old Nico Hulkenberg's are compared to Alonso, 41 now, sorry, compared to Alonso's 11-lap-old hards. You do think it's only a matter of time, but is it only a matter of time for Lando Norris to get it past his teammates, the championship leader Oscar Piastri? He's 3.5 tenths back. Is he going to go for a late move down into turn 1? No, but he's under the rear wing of his teammate. He is putting the Ice Boy under pressure. As Lando, if there was a safety car, we would have a free stop. And, well, that is what they are saying at the moment. Would you want to take it? And Lando says yes. Lando did say yes, but he's not worried about that right now. He's not thinking about a safety car. He is thinking about the rear wing of that other McLaren, that papaya car ahead of him. He wants to get past it. But Antonelli is just close enough for Oscar Piastri to still get the benefit of an all-important slipstream. It may only be a tenth or so, but it is enough to keep Lando Norris from making a late move on the brakes. And of course, we know Oscar Piastri, he is no slouch when it comes to wheel-to-wheel battling. We have seen him go toe-to-toe with Max Verstappen and come out on top. And, well, Piastri, will he be able to do the same against his teammates? And, well, we can see there Alonso has finally got past Nico Hulkenberg, but Nico Hulkenberg's going to come back at him as they come down into turn 1. We have the two of the most experienced drivers on the grid going side by side into turn 1. And Fernando Alonso and Nico Hulkenberg are side by side through the first couple of corners. And Alonso finally gets gets his man, finally gets his position back, and he's up into P8, and he'll be scoring for the second week in a row. Just like London buses, you wait forever for one, but two come in quick succession, 2 races for Fernando Alonso in a row that he is going to score points today. But George Russell, it is the fight at the front that we are looking at. It's particular the fight between the 2 McLaren drivers that we are keeping an eye on with 8 laps remaining. George Russell leads 2.3 seconds from Max Verstappen. He has controlled this race tremendously well from turn 1, from the green lights out, or lights out. Kimi Antonelli is P3. Radio from Lando Norris. As not entirely sure what is being relayed there by Will, his engineer. Not entirely sure what was being relayed there by Will to his engineer to Lando Norris at this moment in time. But you can see Piastri there is gaining now on Antonelli. He will have DRS. He's now in the DRS zone of Antonelli, who is starting to struggle a little bit on those tyres and cannot take on Max Verstappen. But of course, Piastri, while he has to get a move done on Antonelli, also needs to be careful that he doesn't leave the door open for Lando Norris close behind him as well. As you can see there, Piastri wasn't in the DRS last time around, but he's close enough to get that all-important toe from Antonelli. And as they once were, Lando just doesn't have enough at the moment in that equal machinery to get past Oscar Piastri. He only has 2 lap fresher tyres than Oscar at the moment. It's not enough to have extra grip and traction out of those corners. As we know, a big delta is required, especially in the same machinery and if you're on the same strategy, which the 2 McLarens now have found themselves in through brilliant driving from Lando Norris. Fair play, to be honest. But let's see, Piastri and Antonelli now within the DRS there. As Antonelli is slowing! Antonelli's slowing, no! Apologies, that absolutely scared the bejesus out of me. Antonelli was slowing. I thought once again, for a 3rd time in 4 weeks, he was having a mechanical issue. But thankfully, it wasn't. And Antonelli is still ongoing. And he is still holding off Oscar Piastri. But Oscar Piastri is in that DRS. But Lando Norris will have DRS. And he'll potentially have a double toe as they head down into turn 13. He will have a double toe. But how quickly, how close will he be able to get to Oscar Piastri? And well, Oscar not able to close up sufficiently on Antonelli. It's whether or not he decides to go for that move, or whether or not it's all about just holding off his teammate behind with 6 laps remaining. This is the decisions. These are the things that will be going through Oscar Piastri's head as he's currently driving at 200 miles an hour round the Circuit Villeneuve in Montreal at this moment in time. Bigger picture potentially for Oscar Piastri here. While a podium would be great, he'll still be gaining 2 all-important points over his main championship rival, his teammate Lando, who of course has had it all to do today after a poor qualifying yesterday after starting 7th. And well, Oscar Piastri, who lost that 3rd place from Kimi Antonelli on lap 1 down into turn 3, a brilliant overtake by the young Italian, is looking to try and regain it in the closing stages here. George Russell, 2.7 seconds is the gap to Verstappen at this moment in time. But let's stay on board with these 3 fighting for the last podium position here. Charles Leclerc, unfortunately on the mediums, has faltered. We thought there would be a late charge by Charles on those mediums, but he has become, I don't know what's happened, to be perfectly honest with you, Ferrari in the closing stages here. Just seems to not have worked on those mediums. But Piastri closing down Antonelli down into turn 13. They're so close. Look at them. 1 second separating 3 cars as they went through the wall of champions. Will Antonelli be able to defend off Piastri here down into turn 1? But will Piastri be able to hold off his teammate as well? And this could be very, very messy with 5 laps remaining as I think Lando has just gained a little bit of time on his teammate down into turn 3 there, but Piastri, there's no room with the racing rules as they currently stand. Of course, you need to be sufficiently alongside and ahead of the car. If you're on the inside car, you need your front wheels alongside the rear view mirrors of the car you are overtaking. If you're on the inside, if you're on the outside, you need your front wheels ahead of their front axle. So you need sufficient speed to get around and be warranted room. And will we see the 2 teammates? Is there papaya rules at play here? Of course, the famous rules back in Monza. We will see. But Piastri losing a little bit of time to Antonelli in that middle sector as Lando's got ahead of Piastri down into turn 10. The two McLarens are side side by side. There's nothing to separate them. They're all fighting for the toe with Antonelli as they're side by side. It's a drag race down into turn 13 as Lando is ahead. Who's the late of the breakers? Who's on the inside? And Piastri holds off Lando, but they're still side by side, and I'm not sure if Piastri has had to give the position back as they're still side by side into turn 1 as Norris has contact. Norris has lost positions and they've made contact. The two McLarens have made contact as they went down into turn 13. Lando has come to a stop as I'm watching the race replay as Lando went down the outside. He tried to squeeze Oscar Piastri. He tried to do the cutback, and well, Lando, what has happened? What has happened to them as Lando looks to go down the inside? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! It's safety car. It is a la Jenson Button, Lewis Hamilton all those years ago in 2011. Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button crashed down the start-finish straight, and well, Lando Norris went personally for a gap that was always closing, and Oscar Piastri made contact. Lando drove straight into the rear of Oscar Piastri, and well, we thought, when would it happen? When would the two McLaren drivers collide? And it has finally happened. Lando Norris has lost his front wing. He's broken his front left suspension. How about Oscar Piastri? How damaged is his car? I think he seems to be okay. He could be losing positions as well. We'll see if he comes into the pit lane, as we do have pit stops here from the front drivers as Piastri is pitting. But does he have any damage to the rear of his car? I do think that Lando was going for a gap that was closing. It was a la Nico Rosberg and Hamilton in Spain, a la 2011 Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton at the very same section of the circuit. But Lando Norris has lost, as Lando did brilliantly to go round the outside. He made a send on Oscar Piastri into turn 11, and it was a drag race down into the last corner as Oscar Piastri had the toe from Kimi Antonelli ahead, and well, as Lando Norris just basically let Oscar Piastri. I'm really surprised Lando actually gave that position up. Lando Norris gave the position up and braked very, very early. I'm very surprised that he did that. A mistake by Lando. And then, I tell you what, it's the slightest of touches, but it's been very, very costly for Lando Norris at the end there. Oh my goodness, it's on Lando Norris, I do believe. And just watching the onboard of Lando now as he's in the slipstream. DRS open from both drivers as they went to the left-hand side, and yeah, it's Lando. It's a poor decision by Lando. I get why he's gone for it. He wanted the inside line as he asks, "Are you all right, dude?" I think really that's an okay. Lando went for a gap that wasn't there. I agree with the Sky commentators right now. I understand why he's gone for it, because he wanted the inside. But to be honest, I think Lando's made the mistake by not being very late on the brakes and using the racing rules to his advantage into the Wall of Champions corner. As he was sufficiently ahead, but Lando braked very early. Oscar braked very late, made the inside car, and well, this race could be ending under safety car conditions, guys, as we only have 3 laps remaining. And well, what an absolute crazy end to this race. Oh my god. I think Oscar's is okay, but that front wing has absolutely exploded by the looks of it. Yeah, Lando, man. Coming off second best in wheel-to-wheel battling again. There's no space for Lando to get past there, and he's not entitled to any room. Oscar has done nothing wrong. Lando's McLaren is literally on fire. The brakes are on fire. And, well, what has that done to the championship permutations now, guys? Well, Oscar Piastri is now gaining, rather than 2 points on Lando, he's gaining 12 points. And that means he'll have a 22-point advantage over Lando Norris after this race ends. And that is it, to be honest, guys. The race is going to end under safety car. But yes, Lando Norris will review it. Stay tuned, of course, once this race ends, guys. Please hit that like button and subscribe button if you have a crazy, crazy end to this race. I hope, obviously, that was audible to you, and I got that relayed to you. But if you are just tuning in, what has happened? Basically, Lando Norris went for a great move down into turn 10. He utilised the extra grip and run that he had on Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri let him through. He did the cutback, and it was a straight drag race to turn 13. Lando actually had the drag race won. However, he was more than sufficiently ahead of Oscar Piastri down into the apex, but Lando braked so early, he let Oscar Piastri through. And, well, what happened then is that Lando has got the slipstream. He's got the better run than Oscar because, of course, Oscar Piastri had to take the tighter line and cut off some speed through the last chicane. And, well, Lando Norris has gone for a gap on the inside that was forever closing. And, well, it was not even like Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton in Spain, because Lando was never even going to get past Oscar there, because there was never any room. It was on the grass, and yes, he's just touched the rear of Oscar Piastri's car. His front has exploded, and yes, we are going through the pit lane one last time as Max is trying to get a penalty. Oh, is George trying to get a little penalty for Max Verstappen? He said Max just went George aggressively brake there under safety car conditions. Oh, hang on. As Russell says, Verstappen just overtook me under the safety car. Oh my God, the race hasn't even ended yet. We're still under safety car conditions with final lap, and I think George Russell is trying to get maybe trying to get Max Verstappen banned, trying to get him that extra penalty point. Oh my goodness. But yes, wow, that is what has happened at the end of this race. And, well, once again, Lando Norris has come out second best. Now, the braking into turn 13, guys, we will have a look at it. I will show you some still images, and we will review it, of course, once this race ends, because it is the biggest talking point, of course. But as we are on the final lap of this race, it is unfortunately going to end under safety car conditions. George Russell, at this moment in time, is going to win this race, but there could potentially be an investigation at the end. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be live afterwards because of that safety car infringement that happened there. Red Bull are complaining about harsh braking. Russell is complaining about Verstappen overtaking under safety car. Who knows what the final grid here is going to be? But what we do know is that George Russell is going to win the Canadian Grand Prix with Max Verstappen in P2. Kimi Antonelli is going to score his first podium in his F1 career. What an unbelievable drive by Kimi Antonelli. Oscar Piastri will be finishing in P4, and he'll be gaining 12 points over his championship rival. We'll have a look, of course, at the championship standings once this race ends. We never like to see a race end under safety car, but it is what it is, and it is because of the nature of that crash with Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, which we will review very shortly. But the safety car, no doubt, is going to come into the pit lane right now, and the race will end no, it's not even going to end under green conditions. No, it is going to end as the safety car has come in. George Russell will cross the line and will win the Canadian Grand Prix. He came out second best last time around last year, but this time he wins, and he wins his first race of the season for Mercedes. Max Verstappen finishes P2. We'll see if there's any further investigation for the late safety car infringements and shenanigans between those two. But Kimi Antonelli will get his first podium in his F1 career. What a drive from Kimi Antonelli. He held off a charging Oscar Piastri in P4, of course, who had a collision with his teammate. A move that was never there. Charles Leclerc has finished ahead of Lewis Hamilton after starting P8, P5 and P6 for the two Ferraris. Hamilton, in fairness, did have damage, but I'm not entirely sure, I'm not aware of at the... we'll have a look and see exactly what that was, but he was racing with damage at the end. Alonso finished P7. P7, more points for Fernando Alonso. Nico Hülkenberg scores for the second race weekend in a row. He finishes in the points. P8 for Nico Hülkenberg. Esteban Ocon, with a brilliant strategy by them, finishes in P9. Carlos Sainz sneaks into the points. How has Carlos Sainz snuck a point there? Ollie Behrman in P11. Yuki Tsunoda is in P12. Colapinto 13th. Bortoletto 14th. Gasly 15th. Hadjar 16th. Stroll 17th. Norris at the end there, of course, colliding with his teammate, has removed himself from this race, and rather than scoring 10 points, he has scored 0 points today. And that means that that gap now sits at 22 points at the top of the championship standings, which we'll review in a second. Liam Lawson retired today as well for an issue, and Alex Albon retired due to another Mercedes power unit issue. But that is it for the Canadian Grand Prix, guys. What an end to this race. Unbelievable. Unbelievable scenes. Oh my goodness. Fastest lap doesn't really matter, farmers, because there's no additional points for fastest lap anymore. But yes, wow. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Let's do your driver of the day as well. Let's do those two things at the same time. Driver of the day, there's a few options, I think, to be perfectly honest with you. Driver of the day. But George Russell controlled that race brilliantly from the start. Russell, we're going to do Kimi Antonelli. I think we have to do Alonso and and Hulkenberg, really. And Hulkenberg. Actually, no, I'm going to say Ocon. I think Ocon deserves it. I know Alonso was good, but he finished kind of near enough where he started. But those drivers, let's just have a look there. Hulkenberg's up 3 positions. Ocon's up 5 positions, and he did that through a brilliant strategy. Took that hard compound tyre so long. But here we are, guys. Here we are. Lando needs some practice patience. Some points are better than no points. He just made the wrong decision. I don't even think it was patience that was the issue. We'll review it in a second, guys. We'll review it in a second. But when you see the images... The racing rules state that if you're overtaken on the outside, I mentioned it a couple of times previously, the racing rules currently state that if you're overtaken on the outside, you need to have your front axle ahead of the car on the outside. On the inside. Lando was more than sufficiently ahead of Oscar down into turn 13. Now, whether you debate whether he became the defending car or the overtaking car, that may be where it may get a bit grey area. But he was sufficiently ahead of Oscar. All he had to do was outbrake Oscar down into that corner. He was so far ahead. Yet Oscar launched his car in there, as he can do. Lando had decided very early that he was evidently going to do the cutback, the switchback, and get the run down into turn 1, and he's just executed it so poorly. But I think the missed opportunity was at turn 13, not the actual overtake attempt down into turn 1. So, oh, guys, absolutely. Let's have a swig of water there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. So, championship standings. Let's have a run through, guys. Let's have a run through. At the moment, your driver of the day currently sits with Kimi Antonelli. George Russell a close second. I get that. I totally get that. I think there's a few drivers that could deal with it today, but I think Antonelli did tremendously well. Oscar Piastri, as you can see there, extends his championship lead by 12 points. That now sits at 22 points after that late retirement. As, oh my goodness, Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz noted driving erratically. What happened there? We will see. Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, George Russell and Max Verstappen haven't been noted for any safety car infringement yet. We'll see if that happens. Of course, they were both on the radio complaining about one another. We will see. Max Verstappen in P3, gets 18 points at the moment, provisionally. George Russell gets 25 points. What that's done in relation to Max Verstappen and Lando Norris's points tally is that at the moment the gap stands at 26 points between Norris and Max Verstappen. Importantly for Oscar Piastri, he still has more than a race win over Max Verstappen, and he nearly has a race win difference over Norris as well. 22 points is now the gap at the top there. George Russell, 25 points, very, very well deserved, closing in on the Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc, 10 points, stays in P5. Hamilton stays in P6. Antonelli, 15 points for him. He closes up on Lewis Hamilton, the driver he replaced at Mercedes. Esteban Ocon moves up into P9, but he may get those removed if he is deemed at fault for driving erratically there. As you can see, it has been noted. More on, so from that, Nico Hulkenberg stays where he is. He's only 1 point behind Isaac Hadjar. Hulkenberg's 1 point behind Isaac Hadjar. What? When did that happen? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Carlos Sainz stays where he is. Alonso moves up into P16. He's now only 6 points behind Lance Stroll, his teammates, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. And yes, in relation to the constructors, Mercedes have moved ahead of Ferrari there, changing positions after last time out. Haas move up into P6. That's decent for them. Aston Martin move up into P9 and push kick Sauber down, even though Hulkenberg scored points. So very, very close in the constructors, other than at the top for P1. But there we go. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Dude, why were their drivers going for the pits in the last laps? Because Lando Norris's car was stricken on the start-finish straight. Oscar Piastri has been spoken to by the PR team. very quickly after the race, understandably. Oscar Piastri didn't do anything wrong, in my personal opinion. We will review that in a second. I'll see if I can find some images, but I'm going to end driver of the day. We're going to do how you rated that race, guys. If you're just tuning in and you're tuning in at the end of the stream here, this is the finishing order. Yes, your eyes are not deceiving you. Lando Norris failed to finish this race. Kimi Antonelli is your driver of the day, though, and that's the one that truly matters. No other poll matters on, of course, any other stream or TV coverage, you know. Rate the Canadian GP. Right. Rate the Canadian GP. We're going to go 1 to 4 because that's all I can do. I only have 4 options. We're going to go 5 to 6. Then we're going to go 7 to 8. And then we're going to go 9 to 10. Let me know what you think, guys. Russell almost died to Max last race. It's not always complaining Max is mad. Max in always. Okay. Antonelli on 63 in his rookie season. He's nice to see. He's doing very well. He's doing very, very well. Shout out Hulkenberg overtaking and standing in the top 10. Very, very good job for Nico Hulkenberg, by the way. Very, very decent job. He did 51 laps on his last stint. 51 laps. Of course, they've acknowledged that there's they've acknowledged, of course, that they've gone through the pit lane here, which is why obviously there's so many stops at the end. But he did a 1 stop. Nico Hulkenberg did a 1 stop to score points today. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Piastri ain't winning, bro. Struggled to overtake Kimi. It's not so much he struggled to overtake Kimi, but it's the fact that the McLaren is not this all-supreme car in clean air. That's the difference. So, honestly, Norris's crash made it more interesting, but this was mostly just a pit battle, and that's not your kind of race. That's fair enough. I think I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think I would give it an 8 out of 10. I think it was a very intriguing race, to be perfectly honest with you. Of course, the way that I view races may be different to you guys, but I think I enjoyed that. So. Can I review and see if it's Max's fault? In relation to what, Leah? What the safety car infringement at the end? I mean, what it looks like at the end is that George Russell was just trying to get heat into his brakes. I don't know what is deemed to be aggressively braking. I mean, I guess the stewards will have a parameter for that under safety car conditions in relation to the data. Could it have been that Max Verstappen was just unnecessarily too close to George? Was he speeding? There's so many different data parameters that the stewards will look at, but I don't really want to say on. I think what you can't deny is that Max has gone past George, which you're not allowed to do under safety car conditions. If you're looking at the rules black and white and they deem that George hasn't done anything wrong, then Max will get a penalty for a safety car infringement. But I think, personally, common sense wise, just leave the order as it is. Like it was at the end, the safety car was never going to get, the race was never going to get underway again. So, oh my goodness. Russell did nothing wrong. Stop the hating. Yeah, look, don't stop with the cancel Russell stuff. If you do that about any driver, I will just ban you. Simple as. You can have criticisms of other drivers, but none of this like name calling stuff. But at the moment, 7 out of 10 is the overwhelming favourite for the rating of the Canadian Grand Prix. But right, infringement is infringement, mate. No, it is, but I feel like sometimes common sense should be applied to racing rules, which they don't ever do. That's the problem, is that we've got, hence with the overtaking rules that we've got now, is that the overtaking we've got now, we have issues with the fact of it, they're trying to be very black and white on everything, which racing isn't like that. It's fluid. It's like a dance, you know, sometimes. Right. Let me have a look at, guys, at some results. If you could subscribe to the stream, by the way, guys, and the channel, if you've enjoyed this stream and you're going to be back, guys, it'd be much appreciated. Oh no, Lewis Hamilton. Oh no. So how did Lewis Hamilton get damage, guys? We wondered. He ran over a groundhog. I kid you not, he ran over a groundhog. That's how he got damage to the underside of his Ferrari. Oh. Poor sod. And I mean the groundhog, of course, because the groundhog lost its life, but also Lewis Hamilton because he had a very poor race. But, you know, I mean, you can't really weigh one up against the other, can you? Of what's worse. But, yeah. He's literally in the middle of the track. That's so bad. That's so bad. That's such a shame. Such a shame. Right, let me see if I could find, obviously, Lando, the Lando movement. Right, so if you want to see exactly what occurred, I'm sharing this link here for you. This is an F1 link. So no matter where you are in the world, hopefully you'll be able to gain access to it. So this is what actually has happened. Let me have a look and see if I can find some actual images, though. Because I don't want to get, like, done for copyright and stuff. But yeah, some say the groundhog is a Max fan. I know. I'm trying to find some images, some still images of it, but I can't at the moment. But if you look at that, basically it's just it's definitely hallmarks of this, of just Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button in 2011. Of course, Jenson Button went on to famously win that race. But yeah. My pleasure, Mark. My pleasure, Jennifer. Thank you, guys. Thank you as always. Thank you as always. Just listening to the driver's briefing room to see exactly what they're going to say. But very, very good to see, of course, two Mercedes drivers, a mix-up of the briefing room. We haven't seen this. Of course, Kimi Antonelli in the podium on the podium for the first time. No Papaya in the podium there. As incident involving cars, Antonelli, Piastri, Ocon, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, and Stroll noted for safety car infringement. No, don't you dare give Antonelli... Oh, my goodness. Could we see penalties? Could we see further penalties? Could we see further penalties? Incident involving Antonelli, Piastri, Ocon, Leclerc. So, Antonelli could finish outside of the podium. Where did Lewis Hamilton finish? So Lewis Hamilton technically, I mean, if they give a 5-second time penalty, but what is a safety car infringement penalty? I can't remember. Guys, what is a safety? Thank you, Dogs, by the way. What is a safety car infringement penalty? Is it 10 seconds or 5 seconds? If it's 10 seconds and all of those drivers get 10 seconds, Lewis Hamilton's literally got a podium. But if it's 5 seconds, then Lewis didn't finish close enough to Leclerc. So, is it 10? Is it 10 seconds? They take safety car because they take safety infringements a lot more seriously, don't they, than like normal driver infringements. Oh my God! If it's 10 seconds, Lewis Hamilton gets on the podium. Alonso could finish fourth. I don't know. I mean, I genuinely don't know, but. Have you guys seen the clip of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri? Have you seen it? We're going to stay live because I don't know. I generally following under the safety car. I don't know. I don't know what the safety car infringement is. It could be anything. It could be anything. I'm trying to find some still images for you because I don't want to obviously don't want to get copyright infringement. That's the only worry I have at the moment. So, oh my God, the departed soul of the groundhog has blessed Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, safety car infringement, much more serious, probably 10 seconds. That's what I think, Loz. That's what I think. So, Pat, thank you, buddy. Yeah, no, thank you guys for tuning in as always. I think over 800 subs again this stream. By the way, much appreciated. We're fast approaching 50,000 subscribers. So yeah, what a crazy end to that race. What a crazy end. So if you guys, could I really get copyright for a tweet? Yes, Straw. Yes. Yeah, it's the images. That's the problem. Like they flag it up as as a like you're showing copyright infringement stuff. So so I'm gonna go back to it. I still think that Lando missed a trick. He was comfortably ahead of Oscar down into the braking zone, and he made the decision very early to switch back on Oscar rather than try and swing it round the inside, or the outside, should I say, into the Wall of Champions. And I think he's missed a trick there. So, and then, of course, he's tried to go for the inside line down the start-finish straight, which Oscar Piastri covered off more than comfortably. There was a slight gap, but never an F1 car-sized gap. That's for sure. So, me trying to bring your heart rate down calmly. All of them at once or individually? I don't know. This is the thing. I don't know what the safety car infringement means. We don't know. 5 seconds F1 sporting rules, 10 seconds F1 sporting rules, drive through international sporting code, 10 seconds stop and go. I mean, we've seen safety car infringements be penalised at the end. So it can't be a time penalty. It has to be places. Well, no, it can be a time penalty. It can be. We've seen time penalties dished out at the end. They won't give grid place penalties. But at the end, I mean, you can see the intervals here, of course, very, very close to each other. So I think they have, Monique. I guess the question will be, was it too harsh of a break or not by George Russell? This is the thing. They'll have a look at the data, and they'll have a look. I mean, the Mercedes. Do you know what's very odd there? Is that not a lot of the Mercedes team were applauding George Russell at the top step there after the national anthem was played. They all had their hands very much like very subdued, standing there, hands down in front of them, quite steely faced. Very odd that. And I don't know if you noticed this yesterday as well. George Russell also, there wasn't, when he got on pole position yesterday, they panned to the garage, and Toto Wolff didn't really like show much emotion, which was very like, are you not happy that you got pole? So has to be places because the race finished under safety car. I mean, I don't know, David. I mean, if that is the case, I don't know. There's so many different permutations when it comes to penalties and stuff now these days, isn't there? Unfortunately. So, there might be things going on behind the scenes at Merc. I think so. It's very odd, though, because I thought even so, like, they get on well with George. George gets on well with everyone. I mean, why wouldn't you be happy? So, like how they were with Lewis Hamilton last year, I would say it was even more subdued than Lewis Hamilton last year. You know? I don't know. But, I mean, then what do you... I mean, I don't think George is doing anything untoward. Like, if they're thinking... if they're getting upset if George is, like, maybe having chats with other teams, right, and they've got wind of it, well, you're the team that's not willing to bloody sign him up for a contract next season, are you? When he's just won a race, when he's barely finished outside the top 5, unless it's been due to, like, a mechanical issue. I mean, I don't know what more the guy needs to do, really, to be honest with you. Rahul and Pizza, please stop spamming the chat. Please stop spamming. You're in a timeout. As is... you only need to say it once. You only need to say it once. So... Why did I pin that message? I didn't want to pin the message. I want to put you in a timeout. I don't know where the mods are gone. My mods have gone to sleep. So. They're trying to hypnotise you, yeah. Max should have stayed out. I mean, yeah. I mean, arguably, yeah. I mean, who did... No, I don't think anyone decided to stay out. Actually, so... Bill, happy Father's Day. Much appreciated. Ferrari's stupid strategy because they wanted to put Leclerc ahead without doing it on track, of pitting Lewis 2 laps late into traffic, cost Lewis his race, and put that groundhog in his path. I mean, you can't complain about the groundhog. You can't complain. That's just bad luck. It can happen to anyone. So, Do we have an incident on Max and George under the safety car? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Let's minimise this. We can minimise this, and we can have a look here at whether... Oh, Jesus. Sorry, hang on. We can see whether or not it's being investigated. At the moment, it's not being investigated. That's what I've got there. In relation to the investigations tracker, Lance Stroll was noted for 5 investigations. Lol. There is nothing at the moment for George and Max. So, yeah, I agree, Ted. Yeah, I don't know. So, never thought Lewis would be the one to flatten that poor creature. Yeah. George and Max could be swapping teams. Maybe. Maybe. What is happening, Soham? Well, the race has ended. The race has ended. We are just discussing what happened at the end. Oh, there we go. Start-finish straight incident involving Norris and Piastri noted, causing a collision. So it doesn't mean... It could still mean that we have Russell and Verstappen being investigated for safety car infringement at the end. I don't know. The stewards are obviously very busy. The stewards are very busy right at this moment in time. But yeah, I mean... Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to look at some stuff. Serious question: why Hamilton always alone on track? Well, he ran over a groundhog and he got damage to the underside of his car because of it. So, how can you see what type of subscription you have? So, if you want to be subscribed, obviously you hit the subscribe button, but if you want to be a member, you have to join, and then that's where you get a subscriber badge next to you. So, no worries, Taco. I'll let you off just this once. So, is there a picture of the groundhog getting killed by Hamilton? There is. I will bring it up for you. I'll bring in the clip for you guys. It is a real shame. So, there's an image of Lewis showing Charles Leclerc the damage on his Ferrari at the end. So clearly, at the front is where it happens. So Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri have already shaken hands, and they've already made up in the media pen, by the way, afterwards from images that I can see. So, yeah. What happened here between Fernando Alonso? Who was that? Fernando Alonso braking very late there. Sorry, let me try and find it for you guys. I saw a clip. Don't you hate it when you see you lose clips? Hang on. Lewis Hamilton. Where is he? Here we go. Here's the clip. Here's the clip. There you go. I'm ending the poll, by the way. Rate the Canadian Grand Prix, and well, you can see that. Well, I agree. I agree with you guys. 7 to 8 out of 10. I think it was an 8 out of 10, to be perfectly honest with you. So, Gaming Pro. For the moment, discuss what could happen in terms of transfer. Looking forward to maybe 2026. I don't think anything more is going to happen, unless Mercedes try and woo Max to Mercedes for next season. But I don't know. I think they might only sign George for a year as well. I think George could get shafted potentially. Imagine George is not on the grid next season. That'd be crazy. Racing incident. Hope Lando will fight back. Yeah. So I really want to try and find... Hang on. Let me try and bloody find Lando. I want to see if I can find a still image of it. Hang on. But what this just showcases once again is that Lando's racing brain just isn't as good as his teammates. Like, seriously. So it was great. It was a great little fight. It was a great little fight. But Lando is ahead as they get into the braking zone. And Lando brakes so early. And I get why he's braked so early. But the thing is that he's... I'm going to do a snip of this because that way I can probably get away with stuff. So That's it there. Sorry, this is really like... Right. That's it there. Don't know if you can see that. But that's literally the braking zone, right? That's literally the braking zone. Look how far ahead Lando is. Lando brakes early. Oscar gets ahead as they turn into the apex. Lando lets him come through and is instantly... He's thinking ahead, thinking of turn one. I'm going to get him into turn one. But the problem is that the way the racing rules are is that if he played the rules to his advantage, he could have just said, well, I've been forced off the track by my teammate. I go round there, go into it, bail out of the corner. If he's smart, bail out of the corner and go, well, Oscar was never ahead at the apex. He needs to give that position back. And then he could still have enough opportunity to maybe have a go at him out on track. Like, I mean, that's what I would do. I think that's what Max would do. And it's not what Lando does. He doesn't think that way. I think it's even what Oscar would do. So, honestly, you believe there's a chance for Lewis or Alonso to shock retire by the end of the season? No, they'll be in it at least to the end of 2026. So, 0 chance of Russell to Audi. Yeah, I don't think he's going there. I could see him in Red Bull. I think I could see a straight swap, you know. I think while, of course, I think Christian Horner likes Russell, you know, but he'll never let on that he likes Russell because it means that Max, of course, we know doesn't like Russell. So, but yeah, lots of investigations at the moment. Still none for Max, and still none for Max and George. Do they dare touch it because it's for the race win? Do they dare touch it? Do they dare touch it because Max might potentially get a penalty point on his license? I didn't even think of it. What is a safety car infringement? A safety car infringement would surely be penalty points on your license. Let me have a check. Let me review. Let me see previous safety car infringements from the FIA. We can find from 2022. No, that's Sebastian Vettel. Want safety car infringement penalty. Logan Sargent received 2 penalty points for a safety car infringement in 2024. It was determined that he overtook car 27 while the race was under safety car. That's 2 penalty points. That's last season at the Chinese Grand Prix, Logan Sargent. So I'm just saying, if Max Verstappen is deemed, if George is not in the right, if George is in the right and Max has overtaken, which he has done, that's a ban for Max. That's 2 penalty points. There's precedent for it. But they haven't noted it for an investigation. So, bring back Logan Sargent. Wouldn't it be great if, after all the penalties, Kimi wins? Imagine. A different kind of racing brain. I don't think it makes Lando lesser. So, on one hand, I like that he went to go for the inside. I've been very, very critical of Lando in the past, especially when fighting Max, that he doesn't go for the inside enough. He always tries to go for the outside line. So, on one hand, I appreciate that he's tried to gain the inside line on Oscar down into turn 1. However, that was never there. That opportunity was never there. Oscar was always moving over to cover it off, and Lando should have backed out of it soon enough. Or tried to... I think he should have just backed out of it soon enough. He should have... His brain was a little bit too slow to realise that there was no move on there. So, of course, things happen very quickly in F1, but I think he should have noticed a lot sooner that there was never a large enough gap for him to go down the inside. He was never alongside Piastri to even be warranted that room as well. So, Lando is catching strays right now. You need to relax. I don't think he's catching strays. I think it's warranted criticism. I'll only give criticism where I think it's due, of course. These are the championship standings as it currently is, if you see that there. So, They want to protect Max. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think, to be honest, they've probably got a lot going on at the moment, the stewards, that they probably haven't even acknowledged it yet. Or maybe they have, and they're like, let's sort out all the other shit first, and then we'll have a look at that incident between George and Max. I don't see how it's not, and I'm sure Red Bull will be on the radio, will be complaining about it as well. So, hey, let's go. Leclerc was very competitive in the first stint on hards. He also was good on the hards behind Norris and softs. Did he save engine last stint? I don't know. I mean, he definitely... I'd be very surprised if they did. There was definitely points on offer for Leclerc today, but his pace fell off a cliff, didn't it, on that mediums? It's like he gave up, so maybe. You just don't think they want to ban anyone? Maybe. I mean, George did say yesterday, I've got more penalty points, but yeah, I mean, it does seem like George brakes maybe a bit too harshly, but I don't know how harshly is deemed unacceptable, you know? So it's pretty standard how to behave under a safety car. It is always going to be on Max for whatever happens. Maybe, I don't know. Hey, Orlando. Thank you, Nero. Much appreciated. They never ban Max. Well, that's been the question, isn't it? But if he does, then if he gets a penalty for that, then it is a ban. I mean, they did everything possible not to ban Kevin Magnussen, didn't they? So imagine, obviously, Max is in this position now, but I don't know. What happened to Max and Russell? We're just talking about the safety car at the end as they were coming down the back straight. George put his brakes on, obviously to try and warm up his tyres and his brakes. Max was following quite closely. Had to not avoiding action, but he was like alongside, should I say? Like he wasn't directly behind George, he was to the right. And he had to slam on his brakes as well and actually locked up to ensure that he didn't go... to try and not go past George, but he did go past George, which you're not allowed to do anemaore. It used to be that you'd be able to get alongside, but you're not even allowed to get even alongside. And Max said he's brake checked me, slammed his brakes on. That's not right. And then George has also said Max overtook me under the safety car. So I don't know. We'll see. How long do you have to wait to see if there will be any penalties? Hopefully not too long. They do take a while, unfortunately, sometimes. But we'll be live for a little while. Yeah, we'll be live for a little while. I haven't got any messages yet from the missus, so... hang on. Yeah, I haven't seen any messages yet from the missus, but I need to go pick her up, so it's all good. Unless she's watching right now, and I'll receive a message. Max can come back after he missed a race, and he can spend time with his girlfriend and daughter. Maybe that's what he wants to do, yeah. Max without F1, without Max, F1 will drop ratings and views. I think you'd be surprised. I think the ratings, I'd actually say the ratings probably wouldn't suffer. Yes, he's got a big fan base, but there'll always be others to replace him. Eventually with Lewis as well. When Lewis leaves, there'll be someone who replaces him. There'll be viewers who will move elsewhere. Happened with Schumacher. Always happens with big drivers when they leave. Yes, there is maybe a little bit of drop, but people are fans of F1 ultimately. Yes, you're a fan of a driver, but ultimately, I think most people are fans of F1. So you'll eventually find someone else to support, or you'll just support the sport in itself and want to watch the racing. So Lewis does have a massive fan base. He does. You're an anti-maxer, but this time he doesn't deserve a penalty. It's fair enough. As I said, someone's at fault. I'm surprised it hasn't been investigated, to be honest with you. I'm surprised it hasn't even been noted. Maybe the stewards don't want to touch it because they just want to leave the result as it is. And of course, if they do investigate it and it's deemed that Max is at fault rather than George, I'm not saying he is, then he'd get 2 penalty points and a race ban. I don't know. It could... Yeah, I reckon whoever said it, Taco, I think you're right. They probably just want to leave it. So, if Lewis leaves F1, you'll leave too. I wonder if you'll stick by that, Jazz, when that eventually happens. Maybe initially, but I think you'll keep an eye on it and you'll look back to it. You'll be back. You'll be back. No, you will. Hammers is more famous for off-track stuff. Him leaving won't really affect F1. It will have some effect. But I think ultimately people realise that you've grown to love the sport because of that person. And yes, it will take a big hit for you initially, emotionally, that the driver you supported and that you watched the sport for has left, but there'll be someone else who will fill that hole, because you'll realise, I hope you'll realise, that obviously you've become a fan of the sport in itself, and you'll find someone else to back. A lot of drivers are boring. A lot of drivers can be boring. No, yeah. I mean, it's good to see drivers with personality. That's why Daniel Ricciardo was so popular, wasn't he? So, it happened in cricket. All your faves retired, but eventually you came around in a few months. Yeah, exactly. Same with like football. It's always like, oh my God, I can't believe all these players I grew up watching have retired. But then you quickly find other people who you like, who have similar characteristics. But just watching the replay of Lando, actually, and watching the replay of Lando and Oscar Piastri. And Lando made a great send on Oscar down into turn 11. Brilliant move. Brilliant move, by the way. And then there was a slipstream, and then Lando actually got the slipstream on Kimi Antonelli down into turn 13. So very, very good slipstream. Lewis is the most followed F1 driver. It will affect F1. Initially, it will. Hey, Andy. I used to think when Schumacher retires, I would stop F1. That definitely wasn't the case. Exactly. Hang on. I'm so surprised. So they're analysing it on Sky, and they still haven't made mention of what Lando did into turn 11 and how he could have done something different. They just haven't. They haven't said that he was so far ahead that he could have been later on the brakes and tried to be ahead at the apex and utilised the rules to his advantage. The move that, yeah, I tell you what, Lando's actually got such an overdrive. And now I'm looking at it back. Lando has got such an overdrive on Oscar very early on, that he could have been, he should have chosen the outside line, and he would have easily swooped around Oscar. Easily swooped around him. I don't know. What is he... Oh, now I look at it back on the onboard. I can't believe how bad of a decision it is from Lando. I cannot believe how bad of a decision that is from Lando. He's picked up the slipstream and got such an overspeed on Oscar down into turn 1 so early because of what happened into turn 13. It actually makes it even worse. So I still think he should have done more and been later on the brakes into turn 13. But then the decision to go on the... He's got the overspeed, so much overspeed on Oscar. He's going to get alongside him and probably ahead of him comfortably down into turn 1 before he even gets there. Like, it's mad. It's absolutely mad. Ugh. What did you... Who said go for what job, Ethan? Most driver, whether famous or infamous, are remembered even if only for a trivia quiz. You actually love my live stream, Chris. Thank you, mate. Look, this is what we do differently here. We sit here, we discuss, we have a back and forth. Hopefully you enjoy it. The viewership clearly states that you enjoy it. We're not the biggest. I want to be the biggest, but we're not the biggest when it comes to viewership. But ultimately, as I said before, we're very consistent. I mean, I still have over 2,000 of you in the stream right now, just talking about it, talking about F1. And I wish F1 was so much more free with like the content that you could show. And I wish we could properly analyse this right now with Lando Norris. But Lando has, as we've mentioned already, what Lando did is that he braked very early, so he's got that extra speed out of the exit of turn 13, right? So if you're thinking of remembering what turn 13 is, it is, of course, the corner. It is, of course, this corner here. So he brakes very early, gets the cutback, basically, and he gets the run out of Oscar Piastri because Oscar Piastri has compromised his line because he's defending on the inside. Oh, pardon me. Bless me. And then he's got a great run. But he is going to be alongside Oscar Piastri if he goes to the outside before they even get to the start-finish line. Because the incident happens like here. He should have gone on the outside because he would have had so much overspeed. He would have been sufficiently ahead to be around here and be ahead at the apex. So this makes it even worse, in my personal opinion, for Lando. Is that not only has he not hung it around the outside into turn 13 and tried to use the head at the apex rule to his advantage, which I think he should have done, he's then implemented here so wrongly that you could see very early on that Oscar's defending the inside line. There's no room. He should have gone around the outside. He should have assessed very quickly that he had the speed and that he could have hung it around the outside into turn 1. Now, whether Oscar would have tried to be ahead at the apex there, who knows? But if they collide and if Lando has to take avoiding action and go across the escape road and cut turn 1 and turn 2, then ultimately he is deemed to be ahead at the corner and he wins that position. So I think Lando has just completely evidently he's ballsed it up, but I think when you look at it that way, he hasn't once again used the rules to his advantage. I will give him some credit that he tried to gain the inside line, but the inside line was never an option. That's the problem. So Lando needs to learn to take his time, not jump, but I think he can try going to the inside, but not do it early. Well, to be honest, it wasn't even that it was done early. So what Oscar did, Oscar knew. This is why Oscar's racing brain is very good. He assessed very quickly that his line was compromised and that he didn't have enough speed compared to Lando. He knew, and anyone who's done any sim racing will know that if you're taking the inside line down into turn 13 on a defensive line, you are susceptible to being slipstreamed and DRS'd and overtaken down into turn 1 because you've got such a speed differential compared to the driver who's let off the gas and braked a bit early to ensure that they've got a better exit. That's what Lando did. I'm still not sure that's 100% the correct decision, but that's what he did. So Piastri knew straight away that that's what Lando did and that he had a very, very big speed differential compared to Lando. So he covered the inside line off very early. And Lando tried to go on the grass almost, basically, to get past him. And he should have acknowledged that he had that speed differential and swooped around the outside into turn 1. He at least, even if they went side by side into turn 1, he at least would have been more than sufficiently ahead to warrant racing room. And if Oscar forces him off, the stewards the team tell him to give the position back, and he most likely holds on to it. So as always, Phoenix, that's what we'll try and do. We'll always try and keep the channel growing. We'll keep the channel growing, but we'll always aim to try and keep it an atmosphere like this. That's why, obviously, we've got obviously the mods here who do a brilliant job. It's also why we have Nightbot and we have, obviously, some strict, to an extent, rules on, obviously, like spamming and so forth to try and keep it a safe and enjoyable environment. So. Who cares what they wear or hang out with? They prove themselves on track. You still miss Kimmy. That's the difference between a champion and a great racer. Lando is great, but someone like Oscar or Max are the champion level guys. That's true. Yeah. So Lando still has a lot to learn in his fast car. I agree, Ali. Yeah, how those words are coming back to haunt him, eh? When he made mention of Lewis Hamilton. You think there's a precedent for teammates competing for the championship to make these kinds of drastic moves? Lando is not the first to do that by a long way. No, I think, look, thankfully they was able to race. And Lando actually made a brilliant move down into turn 10, to try and force Oscar out of position, which he did. He forced Oscar out of position, and it led to, obviously, what happened with them down the start-finish straight. And that was brilliant. And then he was able to get the slipstream on Kimi Antonelli down into turn 13. But then, after that move, what he did was just, the wrong decisions. So, but yeah, guys, that is it from me, I think. I think there's look, to be honest, there's not going to be any decision on these rulings anytime soon, is there? Let's have a look at Twitter and see if there is. But I highly doubt it at the moment. If you want to have a look at the onboard, actually, let's show you guys. Look, copy link. See if you can see this. This is the onboard of Lando Norris here. So the move that initially starts this, I think, is good. Like, people will go, oh, did he ever think he was going to be able to hold on to it? Well, you have to try something to force the other driver out of position. And that's what he did. If you look at that. But then it's he just breaks way too early into turn 13, to be honest with you. Or he executes, yeah. Just watching it back. I mean, I can see why he's done the slipstream there. But why has he gone to the inside so early? I don't get it. So, every time I watch it back, I'm just like, what the hell? What was that decision? Yeah. Can Verstappen get promoted to P1? I think so, technically. So let's have a look at the FIA. I'm just having a look at the FIA Twitter page to see exactly what occurred. That's where they post their rulings, but I don't think anything's going to be out yet. No, nothing's out yet. So there'll be some time. I'll do some content on it, of course, if anything comes out in relation to these late rulings. Could be. This is a provisional grid. That was a provisional grid at the moment, but we'll see. Predictions for the next race. Where is the next race? Where do we go to? Where do we go to next? Oh, we've got a triple header coming up. Austria, Silverstone, and Belgium. Not triple header, double header. Austria and Silverstone. Oh, banger, absolute banger. I still think McLaren. I think Austria will be a strong track for them. Red Bull, it's always a strong track for them, but then it comes down to tyres again. Will they be able to manage the tyres correctly? I think we'll see a return to McLaren being the fastest car, to be honest there. He was probably thinking about it, but then overthought it, Abba. Maybe, yeah. But you like it, hang around after the race? Of course, Jazz, of course. I love F1. I love chatting about it. So, can I see what happened between Verstappen and Russell? I have discussed it. I don't have any footage of it, though. I haven't got any footage of it, so... Yeah, Antonelli, Piastri, Ocon, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly, Stroll, all noted for safety car infringement. Nothing about Russell and Verstappen yet, so... No, that's all right, Taco. Pleasure, buddy. Pleasure as always. But yes, guys, thank you as always. Let's... She's about already. I've seen her. She's come back home. I've heard the little one. So, yeah, guys, what an end to the race. What an end to this stream, eh? I need to go back and actually watch back those moments and make sure I was audible. Hopefully, I made sense, and hopefully you understood everything that was happening in that moment. It was a bit crazy. Always is, trying to obviously work out exactly what's happened in those moments when you're obviously only got the data and the track map available to you. And that's why obviously I've got the TV coverage as support. But yeah, I think overall, of course, Oscar Piastri will be happy with it. He won't be too upset that he's seen his teammate in his rearview mirrors make contact with him because he's come off second best, and he's just increased his advantage in the championship standings to 22 points overall. So yeah, he will not be too upset whatsoever. So Oscar Piastri, 22 points in the lead over Lando Norris now. Lando Norris fighting very hard for those points. Of course, you have to give him credit for it, but at the same time, just didn't execute it very well. So much more that he could have done. Of course, things happened very quickly in F1. He did very well to force Piastri out of position, but then he wasn't able to get past him and just made the wrong decisions. So, but yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely rest of your weekend, of your Sunday. Have a lovely week. I'll be bringing some content to you in the middle of the week. Of course, there'll be some shorts and some long-form content as well coming your way. So hit that like and subscribe button on your way out. Please continue to hit the subscribe button and get this stream to 48,000. We are growing. We're fast approaching 50k. And it's absolutely brilliant to see. Is there any chance Max can get the World Drivers' Championship this year? Yes, technically speaking, I still think he's in it. But improvements need to be made to the Red Bull car, and he needs really, the wrong driver came out second best today. He needed Oscar Piastri to be on the end of he needed Oscar Piastri to be in Norris's position, not Norris to be in Piastri's position. Sorry, not Norris to go out, you know, because Piastri is the one who's increasing his championship lead over everyone, rather than Lando, of course. So that's what Max needs. But Piastri at the moment, he's doing it in qualifying. He's doing a brilliant job. And yeah, that's why, obviously, Norris, he's making it very difficult for Norris to get past him. as we saw today. So yes, have a lovely rest of your Sunday, guys. Have a lovely week, and we will catch you in the week for some streams and some more content. Have a lovely one. Thanks, guys, as always. Bye.